This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries. We're your hosts. I'm Grace.
And I'm Alexis.
And look, my internet just went out and I had given a whole spiel in which I explained what we were in the middle of doing, that we had a Thanksgiving fall arc coming up, et cetera, et cetera. But I think the ghost of Zombie Island was cursing this recording.
Just gonna say,
fucking took out my internet, so I'm gonna cut myself off here and just pass it to you. Get going. That ghost.
It's the curse of Morgan Moonscar. You know how
he wanted its spotlight.
Like the movie The Omen. The movie The Omen was cursed because they were talking about all that shit, like with religion and the Antichrist. Now we've brought a curse.
We have awakened
Moonscar Island, so it's very possible.
I'm just gonna pass it to you for part two.
Some we'll go. But bear with us, guys. If there's any stops or anything in this, it's
the fucking ghost.
It's the curse. It's the curse. Fucking Morgan Moonscar. And that's a perfect way to actually recap where we left off in our last episode.
Perfect.
If you're just joining us, we're doing our Halloween arc where we talk about cartoons that have to do with anything related to Halloween. If you didn't join us last week, you're definitely going to want to go back and listen to part one of this two-parter of our recapping of, good old Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, only the best Scooby-Doo movie to ever come out, other than Witch's Ghost, in my opinion. But Grace blessed us with that one last year. So this year we're talking about Zombie Island, and where we left off last week was Mystery Inc. had reunited after years of solving mysteries together and getting just a little bored of it because it was always just some person in a mask and never really a real monster.
Yep.
Daphne Blake, she now is the host of a documentary series called Coast to Coast. Fred is her videographer and cameraman. They go around the country touring haunted places, trying to bring news of the afterlife to the people of America. And of course, it's very filmable and good for views. So they get Velma and Shaggy to come out of retirement and help them on this tour. So it can be just like the good old days. They can hunt down monsters and ghosts together, just like they were kids in Mystery Inc. Their first stop on this haunted America Coast to Coast tour is New Orleans, Louisiana. At first, they don't have a lot of luck finding anything actually haunted there. And it's the same old, where they're just pulling masks off of monsters and revealing old people instead of actual villains who are just trying to steal money or whatever, the typical plot.
Classic.
And then they come across a young, mysterious woman called Lena Dupree, who invites them to her island where she works, called Moonscar Island, deep in the bayou outside of New Orleans in Louisiana. The island and the mansion on it are owned by a woman by the name of Simone Lenoir, who is kind of this middle-aged lady who mostly welcomes the gang into her home, although she is not a big fan of dogs and is very much a cat lady. Kind of goes off to a rough start, but nonetheless, she brings them in, she introduces them and tours them around the house and everything, and introduces them to the island. And while they're in the house, they immediately start to see some creepy shit. I don't know, the message "get out" being carved into the wall while they're standing there, and then the word "beware" being carved into the wall as well, and Velma just starting to levitate and float around the kitchen.
Kind of got off to a rough start and then got better. I was like, did it?
It got better in the sense that Simone wasn't cursing them out anymore for being on her property.
She was like, my cursing of you is done because the other curse has arrived.
It's beginning. So enjoy that one now.
I step out now, thank you.
Exactly, enjoy. And so all of this, or a lot of this, was caught on footage. This whole carving of scary messages into the wall in the kitchen, they got this on tape. So when we left off, the gang was gathering around to review the tape to figure out what the hell carved that scary message into the wall and what maybe caused Velma to start floating and levitating in the kitchen without any sort of announcement, or I don't know, without her knowing what the fuck was going on. She wasn't possessed. She was just floating. So we're back up to speed. And now the gang and Simone and Lena, they decide to go to the library in the mansion to inspect the film that Fred has just gotten and see if they captured whatever scratched that message or carved that message into the wall. So Fred, he's able to pause and he zooms in and he enhances the image just enough to get a focus on something that appears behind Daphne. Something Like, oh my
Okay.
God, if I saw this in a picture of myself or a video of myself, I would just never
You'd
leave
be
the house
done.
again.
You'd
I would be
perish.
done. Crouched down behind Daphne,
Crouch,
crouched in
crouch.
the footage, crouched kind of
I
down underneath her.
already hate it. Why is something
You
crouching?
already
Okay.
hate it. Is the ghost of a pirate with a
Okay.
crescent-shaped scar under its left eye.
Ah, okay.
And Fred sees this and he is like, yeah, it's probably just a hologram or something. Like,
Mm,
that's got to explain this. But Velma and Daphne are like, okay, well, why couldn't we see it in person then? Why can we
true.
only see it on camera?
Yeah.
And at this point, Simone walks over to the bookshelf and pulls off a book, opens it up to a page with a picture of who she describes as Morgan
Okay.
Moonscar. And she explains that
Thus,
all
the scar of a moon.
the
Yes.
moon-shaped scar under his eye. And yes, although he was born Morgan McWright, a moon-shaped scar under his eye is what made him be known as Morgan
Cool.
Moonscar. And Vilma sees this and is like, "Well, that was him. Like that
Yeah.
picture is who is that? That's
How many
their.
moon
It's the
scars are
same.
walking around? Yeah.
They're not that many in pirate gear, no less.
Yeah.
Not that many. Not that many. So this confirms it. And clearly, Velma's like, that's him, and he wants us gone. And at
Yeah.
this point, Shaggy and Scooby are like, I agree, and we should go. So goodbye. We'll see you again, never. And they're ready to leave, as per usual with them.
Yep.
But Daphne is like, dude, no, I finally got exactly what I need for my show. This is perfect. I couldn't have asked
Mm,
for a better scenario. And she thanks Simone for letting them stay there and for introducing them to all of this extremely horrifying, terrifying shit that
yeah.
you probably should want to run away from at this
And
point.
a message you should probably heed. Because
He,
even if this
you literally
was
took the word out of my script, Grace. Thank you.
you have a copy of it right
Uh,
here.
I
Thank
emailed
you,
it this
Jason.
morning. No.
Yeah, I feel like even if Fred's theory was true and this was a high tech situation,
Hmm.
you're still in someone's home
That's a
that's
lot.
it's a lot. They clearly are very advanced because you couldn't see them. You
Hmm.
could only see them on film. Like this is clearly really great special effects they were able to carve into a wall without being seen. This
Hmm.
person is smart who's behind it.
Yeah,
And you,
which means they're dangerous.
yeah, exactly. Like the level of intelligence behind this is clearly upped from usual. And again, let's not forget all of the police reports already made on this place.
Hmm.
Film
Which would have been my
research
first reason for not
to not
going.
show
But
up. Yeah.
now that you add this to the equation and
Yeah.
like the weird snake bite dude that they met on the ferry
Yeah. Bad
ride,
vibes.
you know,
Bo is
snake bite and his,
mad. All of this is
yeah,
bad
Bo doesn't
vibes.
seem like Bo seems okay. Like he's just trying to do his
Yeah.
job, but he's definitely not, he doesn't like them and he's not
Yeah.
the
Also,
most
like
pleasant guy.
Jacques told
So
you this place was haunted as fuck and everyone was
yeah,
disappearing.
he
You have
literally said,
warnings.
quote unquote, folks go in there by you all the time and they just don't come out.
And if you're not going to heed the warning of someone who speaks like that, who are you going to listen to?
Who are you going to listen
If
to?
I met
Nobody. Like,
someone,
we can't save you.
yeah, and
You
they
don't want
gave
to be
me a
saved.
warning in that scenario and voice, I would say, who else am I supposed to trust but this man, but
But
this
this man,
foghorn ship captain from
the
the bayou?
bayou of
If that's not a
Louisiana.
trustworthy warning,
If they don't tell it straight, I don't know who does.
I don't know what you're going to do. You're a lost cause, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all
And
I got to say about it.
Simone is literally right here with us because she sees Daphne's excitement and is like, so, and you took the word out of my mouth, Grace. So you're not going to, so you're gonna heed Moonscar's warning? You're like, what are you gonna do? Like,
You're
you're not gonna
bye,
listen?
bye.
Yeah, to what he's saying? Like, you guys are cool with staying here. And Daphne is like, yeah, nah. We don't care about his warning. Like, we don't scare easily, and we need this
Uh-huh.
footage. So, like, let's continue the tour.
Okay.
And so Shaggy and Scooby, they're like, okay, well, fine. If we're going to stay and we're going to be forced to spend any more time on this zombie murder island,
Uh-huh.
we're going to at least get some food and eat in the meantime.
Correct. Yeah, we
But
were
we're not
trying to
going to
do
do
that
it
already.
exactly like that's what our plan was, but we were interrupted by a murder message being carved into the wall. So they also say, though, that if they're going to eat, they're not going to do it inside this murder house, as we were
Yeah.
going to continue to call it. So they pack a picnic and they decide that they're just going to like eat outside on the grounds because
Okay.
again, it is like a very nice grounds. Bo does a good job of
Yeah.
upkeeping the area, and even though the whole island is haunted, at least they haven't seen ghosts walking around the island. They just saw a
Yes.
ghost inside of the house.
And only on
So,
camera.
and just on camera, exactly. So it's still up in the air. Is it real? I don't know, but it definitely was creepy as shit. So they pack up a bunch of food from the kitchen and they decide to take it out there, and have their little picnic. And as they're
Mhm.
packing up their food, in walks Velma to the kitchen, hoping to further inspect the writing on the wall.
Okay.
Because I think at this point, like, so Fred is full skeptic, like, nah, it's a hologram. Daphne's like, no, it's a ghost. Velma's like, let's science it out. Let's figure it out.
Yes. Yeah.
Hypothesis.
As Velma
So
does.
she's exactly. So she thinks that something might be behind the wall that maybe allowed this writing
Okay.
to appear in front of them. She's like, there's got to be something going on here. Like maybe it's ghost, but due diligence, let's inspect.
Yeah.
And so she starts to kind of scratch around the letters that have been carved into the wall to see if it's hollow behind there or if
Oh,
there's
yeah.
something under the paint. And the paint kind of easily is coming off and chipping away, which kind of much to her surprise, but also to her pleasure. She's like, oh, good, this is easy.
Yeah.
This bitch grabs a spatula from the kitchen
Yes.
counter and just starts full on scraping the paint off of the entire wall. Which,
Bo also just repainted it down there and is like, are you fucking kidding me?
are you fucking serious? Which, what? And literally, when I watched this, I was like, Filma, what the fuck are you doing? Are you
Man,
paying for that?
yeah, so
Like,
this woman said you could film in her house, not ruin
not
her
demo
house.
it.
Yeah.
Huh?
I hope
What
the
the fuck?
someone's planning to pay for this.
Somebody.
Oh
But I
God.
mean, I
This
guess
is an old
kind of good.
house. It's full of asbestos. That paint is full of
Exactly. Like
lead.
you guys all need to go get tested right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, like no one's wearing a mask. Like this is
This
this is
isn't a
dangerous. Probably
kitchen.
mold.
Food's
It's in the
here.
swamp. There's a lot of wood.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Velma.
anyways, she does actually uncover a large plank of wood underneath these few layers of paint
Okay.
with the word maelstrom written on it in like all capital letters.
Okay.
And at this point, Lena and Simone walk in and like damn near cuss Velma out.
What the fuck do you do to our
Like,
house?
what the fuck did you do to my wall? Lena's like, what did you do to my kitchen? And Simone's like, what the fuck did you do to my wall, Velma?
Yeah.
Excuse me. And Daphne and Fred walk in too, like,
We actually don't know her. Funny story.
Daphne is like, Velma, I really hope you have a good explanation for this.
For
Like,
real though. Yeah.
please
Get
explain
thinking,
yourself.
Velma.
And Vilma, real quick, runs back to the library and grabs that book about Morgan Moonscar that
Uh-huh.
Simone had pulled out earlier.
Oh
And
yeah.
she files through it and she pulls open a page and she's like, aha, this confirms it. See, and it says in the book that the Maelstrom was the name of Morgan Moonscar's pirate ship. And
Oh,
at
okay.
first we're like, oh, okay. But then exactly like you just did. But then Simone hilariously is like, yeah, no shit. The house is old as fuck and pieces of the pirate ship were probably used in construction.
You could have just fucking asked me.
Yeah.
Lumber was limited. We're in a swamp. Most of this lumber is
What do you
unusable.
think?
He
Exactly. It's
came in
all
with a nice
moldy
ass
and damaged
ship.
and wet. Exactly. Of course we're going to use that. Like,
So what's the excuse now, Velma?
so really,
Get
Velma,
that
tell me why
checkbook
you
out
destroyed my kitchen.
to fix this shit.
So then, thankfully, though, she's not. Simone isn't too terrified, I guess, or too upset, I should say, at this
Uh-huh.
point. She does. I mean, obviously, I added in
She's a
the
little
cuss
mad.
words there for yeah, but she's definitely less than happy. But she
Yeah.
goes on to explain that Moonscar was believed to have also buried a treasure on the island, although it was never found. So basically, what she's getting at is like, yeah, man, he took over this island. A lot of shit
Yeah.
on here you're going to find has to do with
Is
him or
related to him.
whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. And like, he even had a treasure. So, like, get over it, fix my
This
wall,
is why
find the
it's
treasure so you can fix my wall.
yeah. Is that how you need to afford it? Get looking in those library books for a map because you're not leaving this island actually
You're
until
not
you
leaving
fix this.
until yes. That's why all those other people never left. They
Right? They've
also
just
uncovered
become
something.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was gonna say Bo was originally
Their
supposed to
farm.
leave, but he ruined the garden. So now it's like what, when people say like they dine and dash and get caught, they have to go wash
Exactly.
dishes in the
Wash the
back.
dishes.
Same thing.
Yeah. Hey, this pepper no longer planted. This pepper farm has to keep running. Okay. So, yeah,
Yikes.
you
Yep.
need,
I mean,
yeah. Oh,
could be the
that's
case.
taking a turn.
That's why the police reports just stopped because they were like, oh, the person's right here and they're an adult and they're staying.
And they're
Okay.
saying, got
They're over
it.
18. We
Yeah.
can't tell them to leave.
Yeah. This is it's indentured servitude. It's legal. So that's fine. Anyway,
So
so
she's
yeah.
rich and she can do whatever she wants. Bye.
Yeah. So, yeah, Fred hears this description of a lost treasure somewhere on the island, and
Uh-huh.
he's like, see, I told you. This whole thing is probably just some old person in a mask trying to find a treasure, trying to
The
keep people
classic.
away from the island and scaring people away, just like it always is.
Yeah.
But at this point, everyone just kind of looks at him like, dude, read the room. Like, get a grip. This is kind of serious, actually. Not only did
Film was
Velma just
like,
ruin this wall, but like
it's like,
obviously Lena and Simone really believe in this curse. So like
yeah,
ease
read the
back
room.
a little bit, read the room,
Yeah.
literally, yeah. And so now we see Shaggy and Scooby outside enjoying their picnic, far away from all of that ghost shit that's popping up inside the mansion.
Uh-huh.
And at first, things are going pretty well for them out there. They're enjoying their food. It's a nice day. But then a group of cats approaches them and tries to eat some of their food.
Oh
Because
no.
again, Simone is a cat lady. She's a childless cat lady to the nth degree. She's got cats
Hmm.
all over this property, everywhere. And Scooby has not been getting along with them too well so
Nope.
far. And even more so than not getting along with cats, he really doesn't get along with anyone that tries to take food away from
Yeah.
him, like these cats are. So
Yeah.
this obviously sends Scoob over the edge, and he begins chasing the cats throughout the property, messing
Hmm.
up the grounds again, digging holes into all types of shit, knocking over plants. And
Yep.
Shaggy immediately panics, thinking that Bo, the gardener or the like groundskeeper, is again going to freak out and
I
like,
mean,
I don't know,
yeah.
maybe kill them because he's kind of also a suspect at this point.
Yep.
So, which again, like you said, yeah, you're ruining literally his life's work,
All of his work.
like in
Yeah.
front of him. I'm not
I
saying
would
I would kill
also be
you, but
pissed,
like I would be very upset
but I
as
would
well.
yell at you. Yeah.
Yes, I would absolutely yell at you. So the cats lead Scooby through this chase deep into the woods, and
Oh,
eventually he runs into actually Snakebite and Mojo, who are, you guessed it, fishing for Big Mona in the
oh
bayou.
yeah.
And of course, Scooby, like falling into the bayou, scares Big Mona away and
Uh,
interrupts Snakebite's fishing. And what did I say
doesn't
last
like to be
week?
interrupted.
Not
Don't
only does he
interrupt
not
snake
like
bite.
it, but if you interrupt his fishing, he's probably going to try to kill you.
He will threaten
So
you. Yep.
he does, and he six Mojo on Scooby. And so now, instead of
Oh,
Scooby running after cats, he is running for his life away from Mojo
oh no.
through the
Okay.
woods back towards Shaggy. And so once Shaggy has caught up with him, because I mean, Shaggy was like chasing him to try to get him, but
Yeah.
Scooby's a dog. He's outrun Shaggy. So now that they've caught back up, Shaggy looks behind him and sees that he's being chased by Mojo, and he's like, "Oh well, goddamn!" And so then he turns around, and they're both now being chased through the woods by this
Yep.
massive, ferocious wild boar.
Very scary.
Which honestly, like the ghost thing would be scary, but until I actually see one in person, I would be like,
Yeah.
okay, that's creepy, but whatever. And it didn't hurt me. So maybe it's
Yeah.
like a neutral ghost.
But
Being
like a
chased by a
wild
wild
animal.
boar is actually real life horror
Yeah.
movie type
No.
shit. Like yeah, that
I want to be
terrifies me. In
gouged to
like
death.
deep, dark woods too. Yeah, ooh,
Yeah.
no.
Mm-mm.
So eventually, even scarier, Shaggy and Scooby, while they're running away from Mojo, they fall into a deep hole in the middle of the swamp. And this isn't
No.
just any hole. I'd say it's give or take maybe, I don't know, 6 feet deep.
Nope.
Um,
Nope. This is a Silence
and
of the Lambs style hole.
it rubs the lotion on its skin.
It
You
did come
see,
out
you see
right before this.
Snakebite give the little basket going down
Rolling
into,
down. It's actually the boar.
yeah. The boar is in the
Wow.
basket.
I fucking hate that. That
Yeah,
is
I
full
don't love
nightmare
it.
fuel.
Mm-mm. Yeah, in the
No one
middle of
knows where
the
you
like
are.
deep swamp woods too.
Yeah.
Yeah, when again, exactly, no one knows where they are. And
Yeah.
Mojo, he kind of like sticks his head down and sees Shaggy and Scooby down in this hole, and he just like smears at them and kicks dirt on them from above before turning around to make his way back to Snakebite. He's like, "All
I
right, my
mean,
job here's done."
yeah. Y'all are
Yeah,
out of our way.
terrifying. Yeah.
You're
And
in our
so
death
once the
pit.
coast is
Cool.
clear, great, enjoy it. This may be your forever home now.
Yeah.
So once they hear that Mojo has gone away, Shaggy is like, all right, dude, coast is clear, Scooby. Let's try to climb out of here and make our way back. And Shaggy grabs onto a root that is kind of
Uh-huh.
like hanging out of the dirt so that he can, climb his way out of this hole.
Yeah.
But when he grabs the root, a clump of dirt, like he pulls it out of the dirt,
Uh-huh.
and a clump of dirt just like falls from
That
the
makes
walls
sense.
of this hole exactly, and like land, they fall down and land back in the bottom of the hole.
Uh-huh.
But this clump of dirt has now left an opening in the like wall of this
Oh,
hole.
okay.
And out of that opening
No.
quickly
No. Something is
comes
coming out. No.
a skeleton hand.
Oh. This
Mm-hmm.
is their
Just
death
this
pit.
is their death pit, and it was someone else's death pit at one point
It's a
too,
shared death
apparently.
pit. Okay.
Bony fingers just dangling out of this opening in this hole, just right in Shaggy and Scooby's
This
face,
definitely
which
feels, again, where another turn from original Scooby-Doo is occurring.
thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say, which
Yeah.
is not your typical Scooby-Doo. They
No.
maybe show like skeletons kind of like, ooh,
Oh, dancing
creepy, kooky
skeletons.
skeletons,
But
exactly.
like,
But no, this is just a lifeless skeletal hand just
and
pop
that's been buried.
that's been buried.
Yeah.
And imagine in a real life situation, like you said, one falling in a hole is enough, but
No.
then realizing that that hole is basically a grave, and
Yes.
then also realizing, but it's not marked. So you
Yeah.
then can assume someone was not planned to be buried here.
Yes,
Someone was
exactly.
put here. Like this is evidence of a murder, quite
Yes.
possibly.
Maybe more
And
than
it's
one.
popping in your face like that, maybe more than one, exactly. And
Yes.
it's
Yeah, this again is a
terrifying.
literal horror movie. Okay,
Horror movie.
cool.
Great. We love to see it. So before Shaggy and Scooby can even react to this
Uh-huh.
absolutely horrible thing that they're seeing right in front of them, an ominous neon, like bluish green light starts to whirlwind over the top of this hole they're in, and the sky
Uh-huh.
just goes dark. And
Oh.
slowly, this neon whirlwind, spins down into the hole, and it gets all windy down there, like their hair is blowing and
Uh-huh.
everything. And it reaches the skeleton. And as it like touches or makes contact with the skeleton,
Uh-huh.
it breaks free from the dirt, the
Like the
entire
entire
skeleton, the entire
body.
thing, the whole
Oh.
skeletal body. And it's lifted
Okay.
up like into the air almost by this blue light. And
Uh-huh.
it starts to reanimate, like the bones start to move and
Like
like come
cracking
back to like crack
alive.
exactly.
Whew.
And the skeleton starts groaning and moaning. And then we get a closer look
Oh
and we
no.
see that these are the remains of Morgan Moonscar, the pirate. And the
Oh.
full moon has resurrected behind his dead corpse, or sorry, has resurrected his dead corpse. And
Oh.
now that it's been released from its grave by Shaggy and
Oh
Scooby,
no.
it is
That's the
able.
hell.
Exactly. Because it's like, yeah, full moons happen all the time, but full moonlight doesn't shine directly
Through the
onto
ground.
exactly on what we
Okay.
can allude as like a cursed area in the
Skeleton.
bayou.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
naturally, Shaggy and Scooby quickly get into fight or flight mode. And in this case, they fly the fuck out of there. Like they
They
thought
jump
they
right out of
couldn't
that
climb out
hole.
before. Yeah, like the things you can do when you're in stress, like your
Exactly.
adrenaline can make your body do some
Hell of a
crazy
drug.
shit. Like they fucking climb out of there like it was
Yeah.
nothing. They never needed that root or whatever, that branch to grab onto. And so they're running through the woods trying to escape this horrifying zombie ghost that is also
Yes.
climbing out of this hole and now slowly like creeping its way
Oh, they're
through the
slow
woods after
zombies?
them. Yeah, so they're like they're not running
Okay.
zombies thing, which I mean is a
Okay.
good thing. Running zombies are a
Yes.
problem. We can't I
Big
don't even
problem.
want to pretend to
Big
think.
problem.
Big problem. I need my president to focus on the running zombie issue in this country.
I am a one issue
I'm voting,
voter, and it's
and that's my
the speed of
issue.
zombies.
Yes. So they run through the woods away from this horrifying zombie ghost, and they find themselves colliding directly into Bo, the groundskeeper, which the
Who've
last
seen
person
their
you want to run
handiwork.
it. The last thing you want to see is this man who's absolutely pissed at you for all the holes that clearly Scooby dug in
Yes.
his yard. So Bo asks them, as we can expect, what the fuck they're doing out there
Well, you're
and
covered in
why
dirt.
they're
That
making
looks
such a mess.
suspicious.
Yeah. Like, you're covered in dirt, and dirt is all over the place. And I now have to clean that up. So I'm going to assume that you guys are
You
in
did
charge or
this.
like are to blame for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they tell him that they're being chased by a zombie and
Mm,
they need help immediately. And of course, he doesn't believe them because this sounds
naturally.
absolutely ridiculous. But
Yep.
just after this, the rest of the gang, aka like Daphne, Velma, and Fred, Simone, Lena, all of them, they run outside
Hmm.
to see what the hell is going on because they could hear all of the screaming and stuff out there from inside. They're like, yeah, you guys were like
It was
blood
bad.
curdling screaming. This was bad. What the
Again.
hell is going on?
Yeah.
And Shaggy is like, well, we just saw zombies, by the way. And he explains everything
Yes.
to them and leads them back through the woods to the hole where they were trapped and where the zombie came
Uh-huh.
from. So they're all looking inside this hole, and they obviously at this point see no traces of a skeleton, ghost,
Yeah.
or zombie. And they also take this opportunity to add Bo even higher up onto their list of suspects because they're looking at him like, well, you were out here. What were you doing? And
Mm.
Bo's like, my job. What the fuck? I work out here.
And
Like,
who the
I
fuck
don't
dug this hole in
who
my
dug this hole? Which pen in that
in the
real
yard?
quick, but he dug it as we soon find out. But
Oh, okay.
he's like, I don't need to explain myself to these random
And
young
the
adults. Like, I
groundskeeper.
just
Yeah.
met you. Yeah, I am the gardener slash groundskeeper. My job is literally to dig holes out here and to like do
Yes.
things outside. But Daphne and Velma make a good point that you kind of just raised. They're like, well, if you're out here working, aka like planning stuff, what the fuck are you planning? Because this hole is like for an elephant. This is a 6 foot deep hole. Like,
It's a multiple person-sized hole.
exactly. What kind of tree is going in here, and how are you
Yeah.
lugging it in here without us seeing it? So that is a good point because for those of you who do not garden, that is way too deep for some planters. I would
Yeah, what
admit.
exactly are you doing here?
Yes. And at this point, again, he's like, I don't need to explain myself. So he just grunts, grabs his shovel, and walks away to get back to work.
You should probably have
I
explained
mean,
yourself there. That did look a little suspicious.
exactly.
Yeah,
I was
that should
like, look,
probably should have explained it.
on the one hand, I get it. I don't want people who know nothing about my job just
Great
coming in and saying,
questioning.
like, oh, why didn't you do it this way? Why didn't you do it
Yeah.
that way? It's like, sir, this is a Wendy's. Thank you very much. And in this case, so I get that here with Bo, but
Yeah.
you're right. It's not helping him to just like grunt and angrily walk away
Yeah.
with a murder weapon potentially. Shuffle.
Yes.
So,
Doesn't look
man,
great.
at this point, Fred is like, well, maybe we need to like get going. It's kind of getting late, and this is kind of taking a weird turn here. Um, which also the weird turn mostly is that at one point Daphne is like, "Yeah, Bo is suspicious, but he is cute," and Fred's like,
Oh
"Hey, now, yeah,
no. Let's not
I think we
forget they're
should get
laying that
going."
groundwork for the witch's
They are.
ghost
Yes, and
situation.
more on that later, but like earlier in
Amazing.
the movie too, they're going back and forth clearly like there's a thing going on between them
Uh-huh.
because Daphne's kind of jealous of Lena because she keeps flirting with
Classic.
Fred and Fred's
Classic.
getting jealous of Bo because he's handsome and Daphne is
Yep.
like, "Yeah, he's handsome." Anyways.
Yep, they're leaning into
So
it. Good for them.
yes, yes.
Good for the
And so
writers.
Simone informs them that even if the gang did want to leave, it's getting close to sunset and the ferry doesn't run at night,
Ah,
unfortunately. So starting to look like the gang is actually going to be staying
sleepover.
overnight at the mansion. Sleepover at the mansion. Yes. And Simone, at this point, she's like, well, the dog is a little bit of a problem, but you guys have been mostly okay. The dog and the wall are kind of issues for me
Velma
right
and the
now, but
dog might have to stay outside.
can sleep in the van. but,
Yeah,
but you guys come on in. I got plenty of room to
everyone else
get
is
ready
fine.
for you, and Lena will get started on dinner. Exactly. So the gang, they go back into the mansion and they get all settled into their rooms and they're getting all changed and freshened up for dinner.
Hmm.
And we go into Shaggy and Scooby's room and we see Shaggy just kind of, changing clothes and doing a little beard trim up in the mirror.
Hmm.
And as he leans into the mirror to look at his reflection and kind of check on his beard length and everything, the horrors continue.
Oh no.
He immediately sees like a ghostly figure starting to appear in the
Oh.
reflection.
Uh-huh.
And I think it even starts to like reach out of the
Oh
mirror
no. Does
towards
it
him.
look
And he
like
has to like,
the crouching figure from before, like that same like
no,
consistency? Oh,
no,
there's so
it's a
many. Okay.
different ghost. It's a different ghost and doubly
Okay.
terrifying because Grace, unfortunately, once the
Yes.
ghost becomes clear in the mirror, we see that it is the ghost of a Confederate soldier.
No.
Dot, dot, dot. Yes, it is. And so it's even scarier than formerly thought.
I'll take the pirate.
Any day, any day. I'll take the pirate
Wow.
zombie over the Confederate ghost any day of
Ghost.
the week. So,
Oh no.
yeah.
Wow.
So Scooby and Shaggy run the fuck out of there, of course,
Yep.
and they go straight to Fred's room and tell him to come back to the room, to their room to see what the fuck they just saw. And in the process of rushing Fred over to their room, they also run into Simone in the hallway, which
Mhm.
causes a whole stir. Scooby accidentally
Of
tackles
course.
her
Of
again. It's not
course.
great. Every time, every time. And at this point, after all the noise, Daphne and Vilma also come into the hallway from their rooms to see what's going on. And they're like, Fred, what the hell? Like, get Simone off the floor. What are you doing? What is
Yeah.
happening here?
Help the
And
woman.
Shaggy is like, no, you guys got to come see this. Like something crazy is going on in our room. And so they walk into their room and Shaggy shows them the mirror. But of course, at this point, the
Nothing.
ghost is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
So Vilma, she goes behind the mirror and inspects the wall and she's like, well, there's nothing back here. But she looks at the
Mm.
back of the mirror itself and notices that there's like a nameplate under a bunch
Oh,
of layers of dust. Yeah.
okay.
And so she blows the dust off and gets like all this dust in her face and stuff.
Of
And
course.
just a small note, she like tries to dust her glasses off after this happens, but she like can't find her glasses cloth. Just like put a pin in
Oh,
that for
okay.
later. And nevertheless, she gets them wiped off otherwise, and she's able to read the plate on the back of the mirror that reads property of Colonel Jackson T. Pettigrew, 8th Louisiana.
Okay. So
And
probably who we just
again,
saw. This was his
literally,
mirror.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, this was his room at one point, or his mirror. And
Okay.
again, not at all surprised. Simone's like, yeah, I mean,
Yes. What did I tell you?
she was like, some Confederate barracks were stationed here during the Civil War, which like feel like you buried that lead a little bit, actually.
Yeah. She
They
was like,
maybe,
this whole plantation has a lot of eras of dark history. It was, oh,
yes,
you
and
thought
I
it was just
love
one?
it. Oh, no, 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 not just pirates. There are also Confederates too. There were a lot
Layered.
of horrible people that came through this
Yeah.
island.
It's actually
And
a requirement for owning this home is you have to have a dark past.
exactly. Something bad has to be, yeah, something has to be
You
bad
have to
about
be
you.
doing something bad. Yeah.
But it is funny too, because it's kind of almost like a planned tour where they're like, oh, yes, this was Morgan Moonstar. Oh,
Oh,
yes,
and this part
Confederate
of
soldiers stayed here.
history.
So it's like, oh, yes, didn't you know that this
If you
island
turn to
had?
channel 6 on your audio tour.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody have their headphones in. We also
Yeah.
have three different languages depending on where.
Please don't go past
So,
the rope.
yeah. Don't touch that. No, no, no. That's antique. That's antique. You can sleep in this room, but don't touch that,
Don't
please.
touch that.
So, yeah, the gang, though, they're at this point a little more creeped out because now they're
Yeah.
realizing that they're up against zombie slash ghost pirates and
Slash
zombie slash ghost
spiritual.
soldiers.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it in hindsight, it also kind of makes it like whether they think this is truly haunted or like some mystery that they're trying to uncover, it makes it more, it makes it a lot grayer, right? Because it's one
Yeah.
thing if it's like people trying to find the pirate treasure. It's
Yeah.
another
What's the
thing if
messaging
it's
here?
exactly like, are we going pirate or soldier? How?
Right.
Because
We're losing the
we
plot.
don't exactly like we don't need this many costumes. Like we
Yeah.
can you guys got, we're losing the plot. Exactly. You're getting a
Yeah.
little too into the artistic side of this
Yeah.
conspiracy, if that
Yeah.
is
You
what this
needed
is.
whoever wrote the script of this haunting needed an editor in the room.
Exactly. They needed someone telling them no. They only had
Yeah.
yes men and they
They
needed a no
needed
man.
somewhere to cut it
Yeah.
off.
But I guess somehow like Confederate costumes were maybe in the budget if this worked,
I
along with
mean,
pirate
yeah,
costumes and
Daphne's
other, you
like, this is
know.
going to be a hard story to tell on a 1 hour long episode of
Yeah.
Ghost to Ghost, Coast to Coast.
She's like,
We
much like
gotta,
us, this is going to be
yeah,
a multi-part series.
yeah, we're gonna have to cut down one of these is going to be edited out. We just want to see which through line becomes more interesting. We'll
Exactly.
follow them both
Yeah.
for now, but whichever one's more boring is gonna not make it off the
Right.
cutting
Who
room floor.
has more of a compelling story to tell? Like, can the
Yes.
Confederate soldier be retconned into maybe having some sort of a hero complex? I don't think so, but like maybe we'll find it. Maybe. Could the pirate who raped and pillaged a village, maybe
Hey, could we
we'll
gloss
find
we can
it.
gloss over that a
Maybe
little
in there. But let's
easier?
see. We might have more ghosts to work with. So
Right.
let's see.
At
Let's
this
hold out
point,
for
yeah.
yeah.
Who else is going to come into this picture?
Our options are okay so far, but
Yeah.
let's see if maybe
Let's keep them
more
open.
savory ghost comes around to
Yeah,
cover.
exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah, more of
So
we're uplifting here, not taking
yeah.
down. And this is not, again,
Yeah.
no
We're good
wrong
for all
answers,
audiences.
but these maybe
Yeah.
aren't right
But better
answers.
answers.
Yeah.
Maybe better answers. So yeah, at this point though, thankfully Lena, she is able to calm everyone's nerves by coming upstairs into the room and telling the gang that dinner is ready.
Yeah.
So Shaggy and Scooby, they're like, "Oh my God, thank you, because I can't take another Confederate ghost coming out and attacking me in my bedroom right
Yes.
now." So unfortunately, though, since Scooby is still not doing great with the cats, Simone
Oh.
asks if he and Shaggy can eat in the kitchen, not in the dining room, because
Oh,
obviously the cats like to come around
eat with
Simone
her.
while she's
Great.
eating. Exactly. And during dinner, while the rest of them are in the dining room, Daphne, she asks Simone about Bo. She's like, "Hey, where is he, by the way?
Did you
Like, he
background
seems
check
kind
him?
of like a, yeah, literally, she does ask that, I think, at one point. And who was, I think Simone's like, no, his background check was fine. He had flying colors. He was great. Because remember, she has a French accent
Oh,
for
hell, oh, I
whatever
remember all
reason.
the
Oh,
accents.
you remember. Yes. So, Simone's like, well, no, he just typically eats dinner in his room above the carriage house by himself. And Lena says that she actually brought him a plate of food not long ago, but he wasn't there and didn't answer the door when she knocked. And
Hmm.
at this point, Fred just kind of smugly looks at Daphne like, figures. See, this dude is guilty of sin, right?
Uh,
Sure, maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's sus for sure, but
yeah, Def sus, but also
circumstantial.
he's got a lot of work to do now that everything's
Yeah,
been
and like maybe
ruined.
he's dirty. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly. He's
Like,
busy. Maybe he doesn't want to drag dirt into her nice dining room.
yeah. Maybe
Maybe
he's
he
just pissed
also
and he's
just,
time to cool down.
yeah. I mean, maybe he just wants to eat alone too.
Yeah,
I don't
he's
know.
all
Like,
about you,
get
Lena.
over yourself, Fred. Get over
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
And Lena too. Yeah, like yeah,
Everyone
lots of
here,
reasons. Everyone, get over
including
yourselves.
ghosts. Hear me? Get over yourselves.
It's like Shaggy and Scooby on their soapbox, like, get over yourselves, guys.
It
Let
would be
us eat in
them,
the
yeah.
dining room with you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Fred and Vilma continue to doubt that the hauntings on the island are real, and they're just kind of like over dinner spitballing several possible motives
Uh,
for someone or anyone being behind the weird motives. Like, we've got the lost treasure again, obviously. We've got
mhm.
like some other random, someone wants the land or the deed or something, or
Very
maybe the
classic.
exactly. Maybe there's oil under the land or something, and someone's trying
Yeah.
to strike it rich. All the classic tropes that they're used to uncovering through
Yes.
their work as Mystery Inc., right? But still, Simone and Lena are like, dude, it's haunted. Like, we're telling you, I don't like if what you've
Yeah.
seen so far can't convince you, I don't know what else to say. But
If
I will
Jacques'
also
warning
say,
couldn't convince you, like
yeah,
we
from
said.
the jump, never doubt an old Bayou man who,
Exactly.
kind of just mutters random haunting stories to you. But at this point, Simone is also like, look, dude, we told you, like, believe what you want, but also we're warning you that the night is just getting started. So shit gets
A
even
lot
crazier
worse.
as we get closer to midnight and after the sun goes down.
Yeah.
So Scooby and Shaggy, they're, like I said, eating in the kitchen, but this even doesn't work because there's just too many freaking cats. They're still everywhere in the kitchen. They're still being a problem for Scooby.
Uh-huh.
And Shaggy's like, look, before you go crazy, let's just go ahead and let's just go back outside. And they decide to take their dinner
Yeah,
to the
cool
mystery
down.
machine
Cool
and just
down.
eat out there. Exactly. Before you get out of control, let's let's just taper off here.
Yeah.
So they're in the mystery machine enjoying this massive pot of crawfish when,
Mm.
you guessed it though, more freaking cats start to just surround the mystery machine. They're
All
like
right.
in the
Something is up with
trees
these
around it.
cats.
They're not,
There's
you
something
don't love
happening
them.
here.
I
Okay.
love cats, and even I am watching this like,
A little
what is
spooked.
going on here? Yeah, this is
Yeah.
very creepy. And they're, on the hood of the car, on the roof of the car, in the
Oh
trees
no.
around the car. I think part of it too is that they want food, honestly. Like they are
Yeah, yeah,
wildcats, so
yeah.
it's not like, they just eat kibble or whatever, like little
Yeah, there's
catnip. Like
feral
they want
cats.
actual, yeah. So they see them eating crawfish and in the mystery machine, and they're like, give us some of that food, please. But it
Yep.
is still a little over the top for cats, like
Yes,
definitely
for sure.
off-putting. So Shaggy is like, all right, Scooby, buckle up. Let's just drive out of here a little bit. Let's get further away from the house, and hopefully we'll get away from the cats in the process.
Uh-huh.
And so they drive away and they find this secluded spot deeper in the woods, near the water, deeper in the bayou.
Uh-huh.
And after they eat their extremely spicy Cajun dinner, they
Mm.
decide to step outside and kind of like cool off and like kind of like get some water from
Yeah,
the
they're
from the
sweating,
bayou, which a little
not
gross, but
safe.
yeah. But hey, they're struggling. They forgot to bring their milk with them to enjoy
Yeah, for
this
that
this
spice.
meal, so nothing can really cool their mouths off.
Yeah.
But as they're standing out by the water, in the light of the full moon, yet another whirlwind of neon color starts to swirl
Not a good
in the
sign.
air over them. And they've seen this before. So they're
Yep.
like, I remember that. And I remember
Should we
not
get back in
liking
the
it the last time I
car?
saw it. But before they can even get out of there, they look up and see just a crowd, a horde of decrepit bodies slowly rising from out of this river, out of the bayou, and
Oh, a
just
watery
slowly,
grave.
a watery grave, and they just
Okay,
slowly start walking towards the land.
when you say
Mhm.
decrepit bodies, like what level of zombie hood are we in right now?
I mean, they've got skin, but they also have a lot of exposed bone. It's mostly
Oh,
just like it's like skin, it's like bone tight skin and like
oh, okay,
ripped
like gaunt
clothes.
looking.
Yeah, like they don't have
Okay.
regular eyes. I'm trying to remember.
Mm,
I feel like they might just have circles in their eyes or just like white eyes.
okay.
Yeah, gaunt looking, few
Gray
teeth, like very
skin.
bony, yeah, grayish, like
Okay.
pale tan
Okay.
skin. Just yeah, like old ripped up clothing, dirt on them, and like scars and ripped off skin. And
Okay.
I mean,
Gross.
they look
Nasty.
about as scary as you can make cartoon zombies look, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Icky.
Like
Okay.
it's pretty terrifying for a
Gross.
children's
Yeah.
movie. So Shaggy and Scooby, they turn around to run back to the mystery machine. And as they're running back, they also see this whirlwind, this neon whirlwind start to strike the ground around them.
Oh, okay.
And corpses start to rise also out of the
This
ground
is
from like
so dark considering what
every
this
side.
island used to be. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
All this is a grave.
That's a good
Okay.
point. That's such a good point too. Oh,
Okay.
yikes.
Let's
Which
pause. Okay. Children's
anyways,
show.
essentially zombies are popping out of the ground, like almost following the trail of this neon whirlwind flying
Oh,
through the sky and
interesting.
like striking the ground. and just
Uh-huh.
one after another, groups of zombies start to just pop out and slowly walk after Shaggy and Scooby as they are running back to the mystery
Okay.
machine. And so they peel out of there in the van, like they're
Good.
driving. They're like, ah, we're not waiting for
I'm hitting
anyone.
those zombies.
Literally, I think one of them is like hanging from the roof of the car, and
What the
Shaggy does
fuck?
this dope like 180 turn, and it like flings off into a tree, and he skirts out of there. It's like, damn, Shaggy is like a fucking Fast and Furious driver out
Hell
of
yeah.
nowhere. He's a beast. So, yes, and actually, when they fling the zombie into the tree, they kind of like stop the car and just like look at it to make sure that it's dead and isn't going to chase them anymore. But it just like slowly again, you hear it's like bones cracking as
Oh,
it stands
cracking
back
back
up and then just
in.
like starts, yeah,
Okay, so
like
that did nothing
walking
to
towards
it.
them. It did
It's
nothing.
not
And
comforting.
unfortunately, it actually did even worse than nothing. In the process, the mystery machine gets stuck in like murky
Oh
quicksand.
no.
Yeah, so Shaggy's trying to back up and like get the fuck out of there away from this monster, this
Uh-huh.
zombie, but they're stuck. So then they are resorted to running away on foot.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
which nobody wants to do in a zombie apocalypse. Like, I
Nope.
would much rather have a car, but whatever.
Yeah.
I guess you win some, you lose some.
At least they're slow
Um,
zombies.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's true. And obviously, though, in this run to safety, they are just screaming at the top of their lungs
Good.
along the way.
Yes.
Yet again, I don't even know how they have voices at this point because they have been screaming all afternoon. And the screams are heard inside the mansion again by Daphne,
Good.
Freddie, Velma, Simone, and Lena, and all of them.
Uh-huh.
And this interrupts their meal. They like all like put their forks down, like, the fuck was that? That must be Shaggy and Scooby.
Yeah.
So the gang is like, all right, well, we're gonna go out and find them. Fred grabs a camera and Lena goes and gets a bunch of lanterns for all of them. And Simone and Lena are like, you guys, like, remember, the hauntings are just starting. Like, it's still technically kind of early in the evening. So please be careful out there. Like,
Yeah.
don't get too far off the beaten path. And they're like, yeah, like, we got you. We know, but we got to go find them. So we'll
Yeah.
be back as soon as we can. So they make their way deep into the woods to find Shaggy and Scoopy. And in the woods, before they get too far, they run into Bo, which, as per
Okay.
usual, they take as sus because they're like, what are you doing out here? And at
Uh-huh.
this point, kind of fair because it is dark, you know. It's like, what are you doing
Yeah.
gardening at dark? You know, you might have a lantern, but like go to bed. I know you got
Yeah.
a lot of
Take the
work, but like
evening off.
you're an employee. You deserve, yeah, and go get
Yeah.
dinner, go sleep. So it is a little sus. But Bo says that he actually came out because he heard Scooby and Shaggy also
Okay.
screaming about
That's more
zombies
legit.
down by the bayou. Yeah. And at this point, the gang is like, all right, well, let's split up and look for them. And Velma is like, I'll go with Bo, who they still believe is a suspect at this point.
Uh-huh.
So, like, kind of
Velma, bold
brave
move.
and bold of her. Yeah, but
Yeah.
okay. And Daphne and Fred, of course,
Of
go
course.
together. So Fred and Daphne, first in their search, they find the mystery machine actually, and they start to investigate. So they
It's a
see where
bad
it was like
sign.
by
This
that tree.
stuck mystery
Yes,
machine when your friends are not
in the
there.
quicksand. I'm pretty sure the doors are open and it's
Yeah,
empty on
that's
the inside. Yeah, and I think Daphne's just like, what
uh
happened here?
oh yeah, it's a bad sign.
And she goes to open the back, like the two trunk doors or whatever, and
Uh-huh.
she is terrified when just a mountain of shells fall out, actually, of just like a stock pot,
Ah,
like all the crawfish shells.
that's
But
pretty
it's
funny.
dark out, right? And at
Oh my
first
God,
you
yeah,
just hear
she's
like
just
all
like
this, yeah. And I'm
attacked.
like, oh, what is that? Yeah.
Clicky
And
clacky,
then
yeah.
yeah, they shine a light though, and they're like, oh, thank God, it's just the crawdad
Yes,
shells.
they
And
were
like they're still kind of
here.
warm. So like they were here. Exactly. But after inspecting the shells and in the middle of them kind of arguing about like Lena and Bo, of course, they
Of
had to throw
course.
that in there. Like, oh, well, you've been flirting with Lena. It's like, no, I haven't. You've been flirting with Bo. Like, no, I haven't. Blah, blah, blah.
Please,
Whatever.
your friends
Cute.
might be dead.
Yeah, right. Like, can we argue about this later?
Later.
And even more importantly, not only might your friends be dead, but their argument is interrupted when a very bony,
Oh no.
gross, sticky hand grabs Daphne's shoulder from
Nope.
behind her.
Nope,
And they
absolutely
hear
not.
rustling coming from the bush behind her.
Oh no.
And she, again, we said it before, Daphne, she's the
Oh,
only
was she a
character in
little
Scooby-Doo. Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
she's the
got an
only
arc.
character in Scooby-Doo who's had a character rewrite. Like she's not the old Daphne from
Hell
1969
yeah.
anymore. This bitch throws the zombie over her shoulder,
Hell
yeets it in
yeah.
front of her, like slamming it down on the ground and holding it down. And Fred's just looking at her like,
I forgot you were taking those classes.
I told you I don't like Lena. I promise I don't like Lena.
I
I don't even know who she
don't,
is.
I've never even
She's
heard of her.
hideous.
She's
Never
tacky
her
and
food's
trash.
terrible.
Wow,
And
hell yeah,
so,
Daphne.
yeah, hell yeah, exactly. Like, and it also makes me realize how much James Gunn must have been inspired by
Yes,
this
that's
movie
exactly
when
what
he
I was
was
thinking.
writing, yeah,
Yeah, the live
the live
action.
action movie.
Yep, which I
So
love.
yeah, I do. I absolutely love it. So yeah, Daphne, she's taking care of business. She's like, I'm good.
Mhm.
I can handle myself now, Fred. And shortly after this, Shaggy and Scooby also pop out of the bushes and she's like still in like fight
Thank
mode.
God.
So she like
They're like,
also like eats. She like eats them too. And they're like, oh my God, sorry, Daphne. And she's like, oh shit, sorry guys, it's just you. We're
my
happy you're
bad.
alive.
That wasn't my kill
Yeah.
shot. You're welcome.
Yeah. But they like point to the zombie, like, guys, watch out. Like, these are actual zombies, just so you know. And Daphne
Uh-huh.
and Fred are like, I laugh in the face of danger. Please. Like, no, come on, guys. Like, it's just a mask. And they like start trying to pull this mask off, right?
Uh-huh.
And Fred, he's like yanking, like he is full on two-handing, like hovering
Oh
over this zombie,
no.
like all of his might trying to yank
Oh
this mask off. And he's
no.
like, damn, this is a good one. It's got to be
Oh
like the
God.
ferryman or the fisherman or the gardener. Like, who the hell is under this mask?
Hmm.
But Fred, Daphne's been taking judo classes, and Fred Jones can bench press 140, or I think it's 240. He's always saying it in the newer shows. I forget. And this dude's strong because he does not just rip a mask off,
Oh
he rips
no.
off the
The
entire
skin.
head.
Oh.
No,
Oh no. Fred.
the head.
Fred. Fred.
Fred rips the head off of this zombie body, thinking that it was going to be a mask. And I mean, you
Is
hear
the
kind of like
skin
the
just
little
like
pop and
dangling down
everything.
off the neck situation?
No, I mean, you just see the neck and like a little bit
Sounds.
of bone,
Oh
little stump.
no.
Yeah, not like hanging out, but like when he's holding it, you can see like the little white circle, like to show, like, hey, there's the vertebrae, there's the, there it is, kids.
There it
Pause
is,
it for your
kids.
for
Let's
your
learn about
anatomy lesson.
spines today. You
Yep.
need them.
And they hold your head in place.
Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Knees
Neither
and
does,
toes.
neither does. So yeah, they obviously all panic and are absolutely horrified
Yeah.
by the head that Fred
Fred's
is
like, what have
holding
I
in his
done?
hands. And what have I done? They're like hot potatoing it around and shit. Like, oh my God. And it's gross. Like you can hear it like squishing and stuff in their
Ew.
hand. It's so
Oh,
gross. And Daphne's like, oh
squishing,
my God, my hands are
squelching.
sticky. Ew, yes.
Oh.
And eventually, like Fred like bats it back down into the zombie's lap. And the zombie
Oh
picks
no.
the head up,
Oh
puts
no.
it back on the
Don't
neck, but
get
like
out.
upside down,
Classic.
and then rotates the
Oh no,
head
worse.
around like a clock almost before it snaps back into
Oh,
place.
snaps.
Snaps. I mean, you hear again the squelching, the squishing, the bone
No.
popping snaps. Like you hear it all.
No,
The
no,
audio team
no,
left
no.
no
Went
crumbs.
in.
No crumbs. Yes, they ate up. Okay, so
Ugh.
we then see that infamous neon whirlwind spinning around the gang,
Uh-huh.
and it strikes into the bayou because again they're not far from the water still, so it strikes back into the water and into the ground around them. And just like before, unfortunately for Scooby and Shaggy, they're seeing this happen all again. A herd
Yep.
of zombies rises from the water and from the ground and starts making their way slowly towards the
Great.
gang. And in this chase, because obviously the gang is running the fuck away
Yes,
now,
finally.
but they split up. So yeah, right,
Okay.
finally. Like they're no longer just standing here looking at this
Being like,
headless zombie.
huh,
They're actually running. Action
good.
items, guys.
Yeah,
Run.
let's go.
So so Scooby and Shaggy go one way, Daphne and Fred go another because they get split up in this chase.
Uh-huh.
And Scooby and Shaggy find themselves eventually falling down a hole into this little cave or almost like a little underground den.
Uh-huh.
And inside of it, they see a candle lit near this like little rock like kind of podium or like rock mantle, almost
Altar?
stone mantle, kind of, yeah, like an altar, yeah, but
Okay.
it's made out of rock, I guess is what I'm trying
Okay.
to. It's not like a nice one that they bought from Office Depot and like put in
Yeah, it's a
there or whatever.
boulder. There's a boulder in
It's
there.
like
Okay.
built into the cave here, yeah, so it seems
Okay.
really old and like this thing has been here for a very long time.
Okay.
And sitting on top of this like boulder altar thing are three little dolls,
Oh no.
nondescript dolls, just, kind of
Nondescript?
made, yeah, maybe just kind of like hard wax with very generic human shapes.
Ew. Hard.
Two of them are clearly female dolls though, and one is male, but
Oh,
it's, like you can tell one, they're not any particular person, but just
okay.
wax dolls, perhaps
That's it.
wax voodoo dolls,
I was gonna say, are
perhaps.
there any needles that we see? Any
We
pins?
don't see needles. No, we don't
Okay.
see needles, but Shaggy does, take a closer look at the dolls and he notices that one of them does have like a little piece of orange cloth attached to it. One of it has some like orange hairs sticking out of it,
Oh.
and the third one has like a little blue cloth attached to it.
Hmm.
So Shaggy's like, huh, that's
This looks
interesting. And he picks,
familiar.
yeah, these kind of
He
look
picks them up.
familiar. I feel like he picks them up and he starts looking at them closer and is like moving their arms
Messing
and
with
legs
someone's
around
voodoo
and
circle.
stuff. Yeah,
Oh
he's like,
God.
what is this? Who are these little guys? But a group of bats scares them, Scooby and
That's what
Shaggy,
scares
out
him,
of the
not the
cave. That's not the voodoo dolls. No,
not the
all the bats.
ceremony
But
that
it's
he
funny
disrupted.
though, because no. So it's like the eyes of the bats that they see that scare them, and they run out. And when they
Oh, they
see
think
it's
they're
bats, they're just
zombies.
like, "Oh, it was just bats." They're like, "Oh yeah, no, we're not afraid of
Okay,
bats,
maybe they thought it
actually."
was
But yeah,
zombies
they
running
probably
out.
did think it was a monster or something.
Okay, that's fine.
Exactly. So if they had known it was bats, I don't think they would have run away because, like,
Okay,
yeah, they run into bats literally every fucking day.
constantly.
So meanwhile, Daphne and Fred, who escaped on their own chase, like I
Uh-huh.
said, they've gotten away from the zombies and they run into Velma and Bo. And they
Okay.
explained everything that just happened. Like, yeah, we were just chased by zombies. They're real. This is insane. And even
Yeah,
Fred at this point, who, like I said, pure skeptic, he's like, yeah, no, I hate to admit
we
it,
gotta
but
go.
we got to get the fuck out of here. This is or
Uh-huh.
we got to figure out what's going on. These are actual zombies. There's no explanation for this. And Daphne's like, I finally got a fucking story and I lost the gosh damn camera because
What?
in their chase, yeah, in the chase, they dropped it in fucking quicksand.
Oh my
Yeah. And
God.
so it just, yeah. So now they don't even
Gonzo.
have evidence. So Daphne is like, well, now you really have to get proof because I don't have the proof on my camera. And so we
Yeah.
need to figure it out some other way. So we have to go back. And also we got to find Shaggy and Scooby. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and our friends.
And the ferry doesn't run, so I mean we can't, we're
What else are
literally
we gonna do
here
right
until the
now?
morning. Yeah, so I guess we're gonna go find some zombies.
Yeah, I guess that's our plan now.
um but right after saying all this and like getting a game plan together, out of nowhere, Fred, Velma, and Daphne start to levitate, hovering over
Oh.
Bo and no longer in control of their movements. Like arms are flying around, they're
Oh
kicking each other and
no.
shit. Yeah, you
Shaggy,
got
this is all
it.
your fault.
And then eventually Bo is freaking out, like, I don't know what to do. I'm trying to get you guys down, but like I literally cannot pull you down. And
Uh-huh.
they just kind of fall down on their own. My guess is, I don't know, maybe like some bat scared something or
And someone
someone
just
and
tossed them.
just tossed them. I don't know.
Oh
So
man,
yeah.
okay. Who was messing
Yeah,
with
so
Velma's before?
it's all coming together.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they're brushing off the dirt and beginning to process what the fuck just happened. And they suddenly hear Lena screaming from the mansion.
Oh,
So they
okay.
go
Not a good
back,
sign.
and again, this is crazy. There's too much going
Okay.
on. And so they go back, and again, this is everyone except for Shaggy and Scooby. Shaggy and
Okay.
Scooby are still in the
Out in
woods
the cave.
running from exactly.
Okay.
So the lights in the mansion are all off when they get back there, almost like there was a power outage or something. They're flicking
Okay.
the switches, but nothing is happening. And when the gang gets in the mansion, they're calling for Lena and for Scooby and Shaggy. Like, is anyone
Hmm.
in here? Who's in here? And Fred starts to make his way up the stairs, but
Uh-huh.
falls through a literal hole that opens up into a
Oh,
trap door down
classic
into
trap
the
door.
mansion's dungeon. Classic, which also would be
Yeah.
terrifying. Like, no way his ankles or knees aren't like broken or
I
something
know.
from that
I
fall.
always think about that. Unless there's a
Like the
mattress
way he
down there, they're
landed.
shattered.
Yeah, please. So everyone immediately runs to help him because they just hear him like a descending scream as
Scream and
he's
then
like,
go at
yeah,
the bottom.
ah, boom. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so they look down this hole in the staircase and they see him down there, like laid out, but they also see Lena down there already, thankfully helping him get up.
Okay, so that's
And the
why she was
gang,
screaming,
yes, so maybe because she fell down there
presumably.
or who knows or something. And so
Yeah.
the gang asks Lena, like, what the hell's happening? Like, is everyone okay? And she says that the scariest shit just happened. Like, y'all sit down, y'all. You're not gonna believe this. So they were outside waiting for the gang to return when they were
Uh-huh.
attacked by these zombies. And they ran back to the house and
Okay.
they hid in these secret tunnels, which she
Oh,
again,
she
which
was
like, by the
purposely
way,
down there.
if you turn to page 6 of your tour book, you'll see that
See the
these
underground
tunnels were
tunnels.
actually built during the Civil War area so
Oh
the
no,
Confederate soldiers could
to
hide during
hide.
Union soldier raids. See, look at the original stone facade.
Look at the pile of bones.
Yeah, right there, exactly from that battle in 1860 whatever,
This
1850
is
whatever.
Budsy's origin story too.
Yes, it is. That's right. He was
But
there.
Union
He
side,
was
it's
in the
okay.
room where it happened. Of course, yes.
Oh, I guess he was
So,
Revolutionary, whatever.
oh yeah, that's right. No, he was.
Whatever. Go
He's
on.
still stuck around. He haunted some
For
Confederate
sure.
soldiers,
For
I'm
sure.
sure, or whatever. Anyways, so yes, after casually explaining this little bit of history about the underground tunnels that they have there, she then says that, like, anyways, the zombies, they came after us as we ran in here to hide. And they grabbed Miss Lenoir and dragged her away. And it was just so
Oh no.
terrible. And then she runs into Fred's arms crying and holds
Daphne's
him.
like shuts the
Yeah.
trap door on top of them.
And Fred at this point literally just has his hands up and is looking at Daphne like, I'm not doing
I'm
anything.
not touching her.
I'm not touching her. I'm not
I'm
touching
not, I
her.
didn't even see
I
her.
remembered, I remembered that you're a black belt in judo. I know.
I
And
will not comfort
Velma,
this woman at all.
he does say, like, it's okay, Simone, we'll find her. But like his hands are up still, like, we'll find her. Don't worry, we're gonna help you. Or it's okay, Lena, we'll help you.
That's so funny.
And at this point, Velma's a little skeptical, because
Yeah.
Lena's really laying it in now. Maybe she really does like Fred, and this is just her chance to steal Daphne's man. I don't know.
Yeah.
But even so, even if that is what she's doing, like, I would still be looking at her super sus now, too. Like,
Yeah.
really, now is when you're going to do this?
Right
When we're being
now.
chased by
And
zombies?
you just saw something
Now?
horrible happen?
Yeah, interesting, interesting.
Okay.
But Velma's like, okay, fine. If you say she was dragged, let's follow her
Look for
footprints
some
and look
drag
for
marks
her.
then, Lena. Look for some drag marks.
So eventually they're going down this cave and they arrive, or going through these tunnels, and they arrive in a cave that looks
Okay.
like
Our original cave.
it's a cave that looks
Okay.
like it's used for voodoo rituals. And my next line is perhaps the same one Shaggy and Scooby fell into earlier. So,
Okay,
yes,
okay,
again,
okay.
I told you I sent you my script earlier. So I'm glad that you know this stuff. You've already read it. So Velma turns to Lena at this point and tells her to cut the shit and explain what's going on. And
Damn,
Fred
almost
jumps
not
in
falling
for a
off.
second. No, no, not at all. She's like, I'm done with this. Okay. Like, our friends are about to die. We're about to die.
Yeah.
You need to explain yourself
I
now because she
levitated
knows
twice
Lena's
against my
lying.
will.
Exactly. One time was too many. All right. But twice,
Yeah.
that's where I put my fucking foot down after I
Yep.
get back down on the ground.
Yeah, if I can.
So, yeah. So Fred cuts Velma off for a second, trying to defend Lena. Like, whoa, Velma, what are you talking about? Like, Lena probably doesn't know what this weird voodoo ritual cave is.
Uh-huh.
But Velma's like, Fred, no. Lena knows what's going on here. She lied about Simone. The footprints that we followed here, they weren't from her being dragged. They were just regular footprints. She came here
Mm.
willingly. And at that point,
Drag
Lena
marks. Yep.
locks the door to the cave behind them, and we hear a rattling chain, and we see a
Oh.
hand turning a wheel on a pulley system thing. And we
Uh-huh.
look up and see a skylight opening in the cave.
Oh
And the
no. To
full
let the moon
moon
in?
almost directly above. Yes, it's
Oh
almost
no.
perfectly aligned with the skylight. And Simone walks out under the skylight and congratulates Vilma on her cleverness while also
Simone walks
telling the
out?
gang Simone does. Yes.
Okay.
And she's like, very clever, Vilma, but I'm afraid it's too late. And she picks up the Vilma and Daphne voodoo
Oh
dolls
no.
and slams them against the cave wall, which, well, you
Makes
know
them.
what that causes
Okay,
exactly.
okay.
Lena then grabs the other two dolls. Now there's one additional. We only saw three earlier with Shaggy and
Uh-huh.
Scooby. Now there's another one, two male dolls, one for Fred and one for Bo, obviously. And she does the
That's
same
why they were
thing,
pissed that
slamming it
there
up.
were the extra two?
Maybe,
Okay.
yes, because what we see is that there is no voodoo doll for Shaggy and Scooby. Exactly.
Shit.
So, but, and I'll put a slight pin in that. I will,
Yeah.
they explain that in just a second.
Okay, okay.
So, obviously, once Lena
Because I
slams
have
these
questions.
dolls,
So good.
there's a lot of questions
I have
here.
questions
And
now.
there's a lot of villain monologues coming up too. So,
Okay,
like,
good. Good, good, good.
pretty
Thank
much
goodness.
everything is answered. But yeah.
Okay.
So Lena slams the other two dolls against the wall, which obviously causes Fred and Bo to then slam against the wall.
Uh-huh.
And the two of them place all of these wax voodoo dolls on that podium in front of what is revealed to be a massive cat statue holding like a flaming torch and lighting that whole kind of like corner of the cave underneath the
This
skylight.
is the future liberals want. Boundless
This
Galilee.
is what America will look like. All right. Think closely about who you're going to vote for this year.
Y'all,
If
make
you
sure you're
want
registered to
caves
vote.
full of
It's
cat
coming up after
statues
Halloween.
with flames,
Holding
why
flames.
not fucking eat dogs and cats while you're down there too? In fact, actually, they would probably love it if you ate dogs down there. All right. God, America,
I'm so
now's your
sorry. I
time.
couldn't resist.
I'm glad you did because in a way, like it's so relevant. Especially with the release of this episode. Oh my God, Grace,
I
the
know.
election is like a week
I
after we
know.
released
I
this.
know. I know. Everyone
Oh,
make
I
sure you
can't
vote
wait
next
for it to be over.
week. Okay,
Yeah,
anyways.
get out and vote. Okay, anyways, so that's horrified. That's the real terror of all of this. So, anyways, yes, they now at this point are apologizing profusely to Bo for suspecting him for anything
And
and
he's
all
like,
of
you
this.
what?
Yeah, you suspected me? No, he knew because they were grilling
Not
him a
subtle.
lot, and he was
Yeah.
like, "I accept your apology." He's like,
I'm pretty
"No
sus.
problem. I am sus. You're
I've
right."
heard
And at
that.
this point, I would like to just go home. So apology accepted.
Yep.
Thank you. And meanwhile, Simone, she goes back to stand in the moonlight near these wax voodoo dolls as they slowly start to kind of like melt a little bit under the torch fire. And she raises her hands in the air, like praising the almighty cat gods, and exclaims that the
Oh,
harvest moon will soon hit midnight, and then the ceremony will begin.
okay.
Daphne yells that there's no way Simone's going to get away with any of this, whatever this is. And Simone literally just like
Pretty good.
Simone's like super calmly, she's like, I've been getting away with it for 200 years.
Oh,
Okay.
shit.
Bum, bum,
Oh,
bum.
shit.
Yes.
Okay.
200 years. She leans her head
Okay.
back and lets out a super creepy, sinister laugh. And as she does, in the moonlight, we see her whole head and face begin to transform into like a cat human demon
Oh.
hybrid face. Her ears become pointed. She grows fangs and whiskers, and her nose becomes
Oh.
boopable, like it gets all
Oh.
scrunched in, like little cat nose, cute. But she is very
And then you're
ferocious,
like, oh no.
like hissing
Oh
and just
God.
roaring, and looks just
What the fuck is
terrifying.
happening?
Imagine Michael Jackson in Thriller, like that, straight up,
Okay, yes, done.
like horrifying. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And the gang turns around and they see that Lena has also transformed into this
Oh.
cat demon monster hybrid thing.
Oh,
And
what the
Lena
fuck?
then says, yeah, like you too, A2, Lena.
It too, Lena.
A2,
It too,
Lena.
Lena.
And at this point, Lena, unpinning something you mentioned before, is like, we expect Shaggy and Scooby just to die out there in the bayou. Those two are too stupid to even waste good voodoo doll wax on and good magic on. They're
Damn.
not going to make it anyways. So, yeah, they were a little upset about the extra
And
guests
then
and
they
they didn't
saw
have enough
them.
dolls. Yeah, and they're like, oh, Snakebite could
This
probably
writes
kill
itself.
them. It's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah,
We don't have
this
to worry
writes
about this.
itself.
No one will
Oh,
find
we're
those
so
bodies.
fine. We're so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, we're so good to go. So,
Wow, what the fuck?
Simone, yeah, like insane twists that to this day, even rewatching it for this, I was like, fuck, that's right. Damn.
Wow.
So at this point, Simone gets to begin her villain monologues here, and we get
Okay,
some answers about what's
thank
going
God.
on.
Cool.
And it's quite simple, actually. I mean,
Is it?
just every harvest moon, Simone and Lena kind of have to drain the life force from victims lured onto her island to preserve their immortality. I mean,
Oh,
like, girls got to do what a girl's got to do.
you
Like,
know,
what do you expect?
there's a lot
Yeah.
of pressure
So
out
that's
there.
it.
Stay
It's
young.
tough. And these crow's feet, we don't
God, how are you
love
gonna take
them.
care of them?
So, exactly, by praying to your almighty cat god and wishing for immortality.
And getting the
I
life
mean,
force from innocent bystanders.
Simone and Lena are girls, okay? They pray to their cat goddesses, and they're like, girly, we're just trying to like take over the world and, be girl
This is the
bosses on this little
definition of
island.
pussy power.
Exactly. Scooby-Doo taught us at age 6. See?
God, we've learned so
Or
much.
5, whatever. Yes. Put your pussy
Wow.
hats on, guys. You're like,
Let's
imagine if they wore
go.
those like in there like with their fangs and shit.
Yeah.
So
The real cat ears sticking through.
they have little holes for their cat ears. Oh, wait.
Oh, but they're
Okay.
evil.
Am
No,
I
they're
rooting
evil.
for the villain? Okay, no,
Wait,
no. Okay,
fuck.
you're right. Thank you. Thank you. No, they're evil. They're
Yeah,
evil. We don't
bring it
like
back,
them.
bring it back.
So Vilma accuses Simone at this point of being the one who found Moonscar's treasure, if she is indeed as old as she claims to be.
Okay.
And at this point, Simone like almost vomits at the name of Moonscar. She's like, ugh,
Oh,
Morgan Moonscar. And we're like, wow, you've been hiding that in. Do tell, lady.
you two are
Do
trying
you have
a
any
lot
tea
so
by
far.
chance? Yeah, you have any popcorn? I'm like at this point,
Yeah,
even though
hold
I'm
on.
held hostage and about to be sacrificed, I was like, oh, I need to
Oh,
hear
wait,
what's the
hold off
drama. What
just
did
for one
Morgan
more
do?
minute. What
Yeah.
happened?
Tell me what happened. We have a few more minutes till midnight.
Am
Let me
I
know
about to
what's
see
going
him
on.
in the
Yeah,
afterlife? I gotta know before I get in
because
there.
I gotta know. I don't want to say
What
the
is
wrong thing when
this?
I meet him.
What is
Yeah.
this?
So Simone, she again continues her monologue.
Okay.
And she's like, Moonscar was the cause of all of this from the beginning. Because you see,
Okay.
hundreds of years ago, when Simone and Lena first settled
Ooh.
with their people on
Uh-huh.
the island, like I said, hundreds of years ago, life was good. It was great. They were in a nice like commune. Everyone was
Okay.
happy. They would sing, dance, provide for each other. They were really learning to love this new land and new island that they were on. I guess obviously assuming they were from somewhere in France, given their
Okay.
Simone's deep French accent, whatever. And in addition to just having this great sense of community on the island, they also shared a faith where they prayed to their cat god for a bountiful harvest. So I don't know if
Okay.
they like maybe stopped in Egypt on the way there or something too, learned some stuff
Yeah.
from them. I don't
Okay.
know. I wanted to go into it because yes, there are like cat gods and stuff, obviously,
Yeah.
that people pray
But not
to and
well
believe
known
in,
for
but
their French origins
not
necessarily.
not to my
Not
knowledge
famously.
exactly, which is like maybe I should look into this, but then this would have to be like a 3 or 4 parter, and that's
Yeah.
unfortunately
Definitely too
that's we just
much.
can't do that. So yes,
Yeah.
so just accept
Okay.
it.
Okay.
And until the night when Morgan Moonscar and his pirates arrived on the island, everything was
Uh,
great and life was good. But when he
okay.
got there, like I said, he absolutely plundered and pillaged the village,
Okay.
destroying everything and driving all of the villagers out. But not just like out. I mean, remember, they're on an island in the
Yeah.
bayou.
So
So
into the
drawing them
swamp,
out means that he just forced them all into the
into the
water,
gator filled.
except for Simon and Lena, who were able to hide and take shelter, and they
Oh,
witnessed all of the horrors from,
oh no.
deep within the woods.
Uh-huh.
And like you said, those bayous are gator filled. And we
Oh,
literally see
oh no.
pirates carrying torches and like with weapons,
Uh-huh.
chasing people into the bayou, pushing them into the bayou,
Oh my God.
and these groups of people screaming in the bayou as we literally see
The gators.
alligators all swimming towards them. And like as the alligators close in on them,
Fuck.
the camera then pans to Lena and Simone
Who are
as they
watching
like
this?
watch in horror. They're watching from behind a tree in the woods
Oh
in
my
horror
God.
as the rest of their villagers
You're
erupt in
screaming?
screams, Grace, like screaming
Absolutely
and
not.
shouting.
No, we
Yes,
were six watching this.
we were six.
What the
The fuck?
fuck?
Yeah. I was like, I don't remember that. But that
Well,
explains a
that's,
lot about my taste in movies and
yeah,
TV
this
shows now
explains who we are
and
so
like literature.
deeply. What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah, insane.
Jesus.
So Simone then says that she and Lena hid away in a cave, the very cave where we see them
Okay.
now, with nothing but the statue of their I type statute, LOL. You get that
We talk
joke.
about that all the time. So hard.
Damn. Sorry to break the seriousness, but and we needed some comic
We
relief because
needed
this
it.
is
We
getting
needed it. This is
insane.
grim.
Yeah, so they're stuck in this cave, hiding away with nothing but the statue of their cat god. And eventually, when the full moon shone through the skylight in this
Uh-huh.
cave, the women, they started to cry out a curse to their cat god, just like out of total desperation and
Yeah.
unsure of what to
Why'd
do
this happen
next. They
to
just
us?
cry out exactly. And they pray for the cat god to curse these pirates and to help them,
Uh-huh.
save themselves from all this menacing shit that's now going on.
Yeah.
And so immediately we see them get their wish. The cat god grants them their wish.
Oh,
But we know that you never really want to pray or wish for something from a god because there's
carry
always a
that fine
loophole or a
print.
caveat.
Yeah.
Exactly. So immediately after making this wish, we see the shadows of the women against the cave walls just start to transform
Oh,
into these full on, like, standing, walking cat beings, and then
oh.
like running out of this cave. And so their wish was granted because with this, Simone says that as cat creatures, we were able to destroy the pirates,
Oh, so I
as
thought you were
she
going to say that
puts
God
it.
came down and took care of them, not they
Mm-mm.
got
That might be,
the
I think that might be
strength.
what they wanted. I think that might be what they wanted to happen.
Yeah,
But you
as we
can't like
say.
pick and choose exactly like the blessing or whatever wish granted that a
Yes, what
God
form
gives
it
you. Like you ask
takes.
for something, they're going to interpret it the way exactly
However
that they
they
want
want.
to. And in this case, the cat God heard them and it was like, oh, he was
Say
probably like
less.
playing with catnip or something. And he was like, oh, you want to be cats? Got it. Boom, you're cats now. Oh, that's not what they said.
Eh. Oh, but I now get
Biscuits,
lots of
making
life
biscuits.
force for the rest of time. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
He's like, oh, yeah,
Yep,
actually,
yep,
maybe that
yep.
worked. Yeah. Meow, meow,
Boop.
meow.
Self boop on its
So,
nose.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, when Simone, by the way, says that like
Wow.
becoming cat creatures allowed them to destroy the pirates, I was like, oh, so there was a
Mass
massacre, it sounds
murder.
like.
A double
Oh,
massacre.
a
This should be
double
called Massacre
massacre.
Island, not
That's
Zombie Island or Moonscar Island. This is mass. Actually, probably
Massacre
three
Island. It is
massacres because I'm
now.
sure there were people there before this French group arrived.
Oh,
So
multiple. And
triple Massacre Island.
I'm glad you said that actually, because I did kind of mean to bring it up earlier. I was like, if Grace asks, I'll say it, but
Yeah.
now that you say that, it's actually probably important to note. And you kind of did actually bring it up with all the zombies walking around. You're like, yeah, well, we've got pirate ones, we've got soldier ones.
Yeah.
Like, pick a theme here. Well, throughout the movie, you see zombies in all types of shit. Like you see flapper zombies, you see like
Oh
1930s
no.
gangster type zombies. You see people that are just in like floral shirts with like bucket hats on and cameras
Oh,
around their necks
modern
type of zombies, just
zombies,
modern, just
tourist
all
zombies.
eras. Like I said, again, the soldiers, the tour, like everything.
They've been
So
killing across time.
not only three massacres, actually,
Yeah.
like name count how many harvest moons there have been
Yes, there have ever
between
been last 200
200 years
years.
ago and now, and that's how many massacres
Uh,
there have been, because it seems like they always need like at least three or four people to kill at least. So
yeah.
that's a massacre. Yeah. So, anyways,
Jesus.
yeah, so they're cursed, and over the years, Lena adds on that boats continued to come to the island, boats of settlers, of soldiers, of tourists, etc.,
Uh,
all sorts of people. And eventually, a ship full of spice traders came and started a pepper plantation. And this
uh,
plantation flourished, at least, Simone says, until the harvest moon, which there's another massacre for you.
that's a big
Like,
massacre, probably.
it's not great. And it's crazy because all of this villain monologue is
Uh,
through a
flashback.
flashback. So it's
Oh
like a sepia
no.
tone flashback that we're
What is
seeing all of
this
this. And
plantation
you see people
flashback?
working on the plantation. And thankfully, it's not historically accurate, the depiction of people that they
Okay, it's
put
like
working
we're
on the
happy to be
plantation, which is
here of our own free
exactly, yay, look at
will.
this white man with beautiful long brown hair out here just
Look
picking
at my
peppers and
happy. Oh, I'm
whatnot.
taking a nice break. I'm getting a paycheck.
Yes, look at me. Oh, I'm treated so well. I love this job with
I chose
benefits.
to be here.
Yes, yeah. But then we see
Mm.
all these white men cowering in fear as the shadow of cat creatures
Oh
hover
my
over them, and
God.
then they scream, and the camera pans back to the future.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, eventually, after, the economy kind of changes, the world changes. You don't have
Yeah.
soldiers coming and taking over the island or settlers. So, Lena would have to start going out to the mainland and luring any random people to
Yes.
the island to help feed the curse and to trick them out to
Oh,
getting there. And at this point, the gang's like, oh shit, like you did
that's
to
us.
us. And Lena's like, yep, I've had a lot of
Easy.
time to practice. Exactly.
Damn.
And at this point, I was like, holy shit, this bitch didn't even need to be flirting with Fred. She literally was
No.
just playing the game. Like at no point did she need Fred to think that like that she was attracted to him. Like
No.
so she literally, like she said, I've been doing this forever. Like I'm just having fun with you guys. I play with my food
Oh,
before I eat it, like
yeah.
type
She's
shit.
basically like, we
Yeah.
were in a marketplace full of tourists. I could have chosen anyone, and you guys seem the
Anyone.
most fun.
Yeah. And like may literally seem the most fun. She did overhear them and maybe she recognized them. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
like, yeah, they
overhearing
just
them,
seemed
she's like,
fun.
easy mark.
Exactly.
Easy
Truly. Like it'll be
mark.
so easy to lure them out here. Yeah.
Oh my God. Also, that's some like
Yeah.
serial killer shit to be like,
Yes.
yeah, I know how to
Yes.
lure people back. Easy.
Exactly. I can't even count the number of true crime podcast episodes I've listened to with like this exact MO or like this
This
exact like
is
method of drawing people
so
out to their
insane.
murder mansions. Looking at you, H.H.
Yeah.
Holmes, the fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
oh yeah, come on, you need a room to stay in? Yeah, you want to
No
learn about medicine? Yeah, chop
problem.
off your toe here real quick. Um,
Wow, this is
anyway,
insane. Okay.
insane. Yeah. So at this point, too, now that they're like piecing together all of the things that Lena and Simone have told them, the gang realizes that the zombies have actually been trying to help them this entire time. They're like, holy shit, the
Get
zombies are
out
all
of
of your
here.
victims.
We
Get the
were, wait, that is fucked up.
shut the door, lock it, and don't come back. What the fuck? Yes. They're like, these were your victims. They weren't trying to kill us. They were warning us to get the fuck off the island before
They're
we
trying to
ended up
help us
like
this entire
them.
time.
Yes. And I was like, ooh, I don't love the idea of a Confederate soldier trying to help people. But you know what? Hey, hero complex, like we said, maybe we can
He's
find.
complicated. He's a complicated one.
He's had a lot of time to think about his choices in death. And,
Yeah,
he's seen all of these
he's
people coming to the
realized.
island, and he's like, I should have never hated some of you. Like, we're
Yeah,
all
he's
the
like,
same
I'm
here,
so
anyways.
sorry.
Yeah.
In
He's
the
like,
end,
I
we
don't want
all
you to be
ended
like
up in a
me.
swamp.
Better late than never,
Wow.
but yeah.
That is
So,
so, I don't
what
know
a
why that is
fucking
like
turn. Isn't that
extra
insane? Like
disturbing
goosebumps. Yeah. Like, as
for
much as a
some
cartoon can
reason.
give you goosebumps.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean,
Yeah.
like, it would still be creepy if they're like, oh, yeah, they're trying to kill us all. But it feels creepier that they were like, no, we're coming to save you from being murdered.
Hmm.
We are all
Yeah.
murder victims in this
Yeah.
children's show, and we're trying to help you not get murdered.
Because one, it's
I
like
hate that.
disarming this
Yeah.
incredibly frightening, horrifying thing that no one should ever like feel disarmed by. But it's
Yeah.
also making you realize how much more dangerous Simone and Lena are.
Yes, that these hundreds
It's
and
like,
thousands of people
zombies are literally raising from the dead to warn
to
us
help
that, like,
you,
yeah,
like
like
to GTFO.
insane. And such a good twist. Such a good twist.
Yes, my
Um,
world is rocked right now by this,
Oh, it's going to
especially
get
particular
rocked a little
part.
bit more.
Oh God.
It's going to
Okay.
get rocked more because after they discover this or they realize this, they're like thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Their thoughts are interrupted by the roaring of a big cat on land above them. And Lena turns to the gang and says, it sounds like Jacques caught up with your friends. Simone then explains that they needed a ferry driver to help them get people to and from the
I
island and
was
to
gonna
help themselves get to and from the island.
I
And
was
Jacques
gonna
once told
ask.
Simone that he wanted the key to immortality, so they changed him to a cat demon monster as well.
Wait,
Sorry.
I was gonna ask, like, okay, can they change their human form so that every generation it doesn't look like it's just the same two women who have been there for
Mm,
1,000 years? And to also, like, yeah, how do they get around that? There are multiple
yeah.
ferries they take. I was wondering about the logistics of like looking the
Hmm.
same for 100 plus years, but it doesn't
Yeah,
fucking matter. They have someone on the inside.
exactly.
They have
And
a whole supply chain.
by the way, it sounds like they operate this island. There aren't that many people, if any people at all, that come there and return or like leave, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it was
So
like
it's
way
not
out in the
like people go
woods.
to
It
the,
wasn't like
yeah,
at the
people
port
aren't
in New
going
Orleans
there.
finding it.
Yeah. Like in a modern era, I think the only reason why people are going to that island is because Lena is luring them out there.
Yes.
Ever since
In
like post Civil
any
War with
era.
like soldiers
Yeah.
storming the area and shit, it's just like a normal little neighborhood, like in the middle of nowhere. So people have
Yeah.
no reason to go there unless Lena's bringing them to kill them.
Oh
And um,
God.
and that means that there aren't people who can like become familiar enough with Jacques over the years to be like,
Oh
hey,
yeah. Or even
you've
of
never aged,
Lena.
or like Lena or Simone, any of them. Yeah, because they all
Yeah.
die. Like
They
no
don't
one
like,
leaves that island.
yeah, and they're
Yeah.
not coming onto the mainland enough to be like, oh, she comes to this grocery store
Oh,
every week for the last 78 years and looks the
exactly.
same.
Yeah. Exactly. It's New
Damn.
Orleans is busy and bustling. It's like I'm sure she can
Yeah.
hop around different
Or
markets
change
long
her
enough
outfit a
to
little
not
bit.
exactly change her hair up. And it
Damn.
does actually look like Simone changed her hair over time. Lena has the same hairdo like when they do the
Uh-huh.
flashbacks, but Simone had like an updo and like pulled longer hair. So yeah, like you
Damn.
said, they change their appearance a little bit, but nope, they have no need to
Because they
like
don't need to.
totally change bodies. Yeah, because they kill anyone who encounters them. So
Yeah.
no
No
witnesses.
witnesses.
Yeah. Yep.
God.
So, yeah, up on the actual like surface level, we see Scabby, Scooby and Shaggy running through the
Scabby.
woods. Scabby, that's like their
Couple
couple
name.
name.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And they are, in fact, being chased through the woods by Jacques. But at this point, he obviously looks way more
Cat.
terrifying, like a massive cat monster, like a cougar who's like 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
But he's like fully covered in fur at
And
this
fur.
point too,
That's why he had
where
that
we
white
just
shaggy
see
fur at the start. All that shaggy
exactly.
hair.
He's like, you
Should
get
have
it? I'm
known.
hairy.
He should have
And
known.
it's just funny too because Lena and Simone like they still just have cat faces and like are in their regular outfits
Uh-huh.
and stuff. So it's
He's
like, ugh,
full like werewolf mode.
yeah, like terrifying. And so Jacques closes in on Shaggy and Scooby, and he grabs hold of them and lifts them up above his head, ready to
Oh
like eat
no.
them or like hurt them, whatever.
Yeah.
But out of the trees comes a crowd of zombies behind
Oh,
Jacques, and
okay.
they immediately jump up on Jacques, which forces him to like drop and like
Drop
lose his
them.
grip on Shaggy and Scooby, and they like
Uh-huh.
crawl away and hide. And these zombies, they just keep
Go
coming
to
out
town.
from the trees and piling up on
Oh
Jacques, like
shit.
tackling him and holding him down. And Shaggy and Scooby are like, okay, well, I
Bye.
we're out of here. Like, I don't want an explanation for that. All I know is that
This
this
is
is our
another
chance to
massacre.
run away. Exactly. And Lena, back down in the cave, she hears Jacques like painfully growling and roaring
Oh
up above the
God.
cave. And she's like, Jacques sounds like he's in trouble, Simone. We need to go help him. But at this point, it's like 1 or 2 minutes until midnight. And Simone's like, no, don't worry about him. Forget about that dude. We need to focus on getting their life force before the clock strikes midnight.
Ooh, okay. Time limit.
And at that, so it's like, oh God, you have choices here, a moral dilemma. And at that exact
That's not moral
moment,
for them. They
though,
don't give a
nah,
shit
not
about
really. They're like,
Shaq.
yeah, fuck Jacques. We'll get
We'll
another
find
ferry
another fairy.
driver.
Yep.
Yeah. And at that exact moment, Scooby and Shaggy slide into the cave, having
Okay.
again fallen down that same hole. They're pros at it
Honestly,
at this
thank God.
point. Yeah, really, though, because as they slide in, they knock over Simone and Lena
Okay,
just
good.
as they were walking to get the voodoo dolls. And in the scuffle, they knock the dolls off the podium and they fall near the feet of the tied up gang.
Okay.
And oh, I don't think I mentioned that actually. So when they slammed the voodoo dolls against the wall, they also
Yeah.
tied up like the arms on the dolls
Oh,
so that the
okay.
gang was also like tied in place. So
Cool,
that's
but they were
why
still
you're
against the
probably
wall.
you're probably like, why is the gang just not running out of here? Why are they just
I mean,
taking
I
it?
thought they were like up against, like pinned to the wall and thus
Oh,
could
I see
not
what you,
go.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair. Could have also gone that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the gang is now like very close to these dolls and they're like trying to use their feet to like
Yeah, to
grab them
kick
and
them
like bring
over.
them in. Yeah. And Simone is pissed the fuck off at this point because
Yeah.
they're getting close to midnight and shit's not going
This is
right.
now a
They thought
mess.
Scooby and Shaggy were idiots and now
Dead.
here they are ruining, yeah, and dead. They thought they were stupid idiots that are dead, but
Yeah,
now
dead it
we're stupid
is.
idiots that are alive and ruining their plan. So Lena and Simone fully Hulk out and turn more into the
Oh,
sort of cat creature that Jock looked like.
okay.
They like rip through their clothes. They grow fur. Their claws get even longer. Their
Ugh.
fangs get longer. They have full on like paws now. And they're just full cat monsters on two legs with like dresses, essentially. So
Oh, damn.
fully transforming now into these cat things. And they start to chase Scooby and Shaggy throughout the cave, but they're
Mhm.
soon cornered by zombies who have also found the entrance to this cave somehow.
Okay.
And
Because they were
later,
killed there. That's how they know where it
they
is.
know the island very well. Yes, they
Yes.
remember. It just takes them a while. They walk slow, so they had to
Yeah,
catch up,
exactly.
you
But they
know?
know where their murder
Yeah,
site was.
yeah. And apparently, somehow Jacques was also able to get free from that horde of
Uh,
zombies that tackled him earlier. So he now has also run into the cave to try to help Simone and
okay.
Lena. And so Simone and Lena grab hold of Shaggy and Scooby's shoulders, trying to like stop them from running away. And they're like, fuck it, we'll just drain your life source then. And they do immediately
Oh.
start to like, you see Shaggy and Scooby start to like wither and like their
Uh-huh.
eyes start sagging and their bones start like pointing out more
Oh.
in their face. And they just like immediately fall to the floor and
Slump.
are like
Oh God.
exhausted.
Uh-huh.
And meanwhile, Velma, she's finally got a hold of her voodoo doll and she's
Oh
able to
yeah.
like slide the ropes off of it by like rubbing it together through her feet. And
Uh-huh.
once the ropes slide off, her arms are free and she's able to get everyone else untied and
Good.
get their
Good.
voodoo dolls to like a safe place. And she makes some quick adjustments to the voodoo dolls before
Oh.
again starting to slam them into the wall of the cave.
Oh
And
God.
we look over and we see Simone and Lena fly away from
Hell
Shaggy
yeah,
and
Velma.
Scooby and slam into the wall behind them. And
Velma knows
Fred
her
and
voodoo.
Bo, oh, she
She
owns a
reads.
mystery bookshop, all right? She
Exactly.
knows. She's written the book on voodoo, probably,
Probably,
or at
yeah.
least interpreted it into
Yes.
English. So Fred and Bo run over to help Shaggy and Scooby as they slowly start to like get some life back into them and like get
Okay.
some energy back and come back to normal. And Daphne and Vilma start taunting Simone and Lena with these voodoo dolls that they're
Yeah.
like punching each other with them and shit and just like throwing them all over the place.
Uh-huh.
But like I said, Jacques, he found his way down into the cave too. And so he sees Daphne and Vilma doing this and runs into them, knocking the voodoo dolls out
Mm,
of their hands, which then frees Simone and Lena. And so
okay.
those two, they get up and they make their way towards Mystery Inc. and Bo, ready to like grab them and steal all of their life force.
Uh-huh.
But the gang, they keep retreating. And Bo, I think, grabs like a torch off the wall and is like, get back, cats hate fire, right? I don't know.
That's
But
all
I
I
mean,
got.
it's kind of working because they are like
Yeah.
backing up from them and everything. And really, what we learn is that the gang is just actually kind of trying to just buy time
Okay,
because
that
the
makes sense.
cat demon monsters start to like steam and start smoking, and they kind of like
Oh.
stop in their tracks and start to like scream in pain and wither and fade until all we see is just a little bit of skin left on their
Ew.
bones, and it's
Ugh.
like drooping and sagging off and falling off. And then we just see bone in like all of their outfits. And
Uh-huh.
then we just see the bone explode everywhere
Oh my
into a
God.
pile of dust as they're like screaming through the explosion. And
Um,
the gang looks at each other and then looks down at the little sundial clock in the cave
oh,
and sees
uh-huh.
that it is past midnight. And the curse
Oh,
has been broken because Simone and Lena and Jacques
didn't get the
did
life
not
force.
consume a new life force before midnight of the harvest moon. So, like I said,
Damn.
they basically just ran out the clock and stalled for a couple
That
minutes
cat
until
god is punctual.
punctual. Like, if
It
there is
says
one thing in life,
1 second
it's being on
past.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but
Damn.
hey, listen, there aren't a lot of rules to this curse, okay? The only rule is to be on time. That's
That's all
really
you
it.
had to do. Give
Drain
me a
life
life
forces by
force
midnight.
by
That's it.
midnight. You have so much
And you
time to
didn't
build
do
up
it.
to it. You guys started the day before. Come
Yep.
on.
And still you
You
didn't
all you
do it.
have is
Yeah.
time.
Yep. You're dead now. Sorry. Immortality
Damn.
gone. But then, if you thought that the creepiness was ended there, don't I mean it's Scooby-Doo on
Oh
Zombie Island.
no.
It doesn't end there.
You're still zombies
Because
everywhere.
then, exactly, and the neon whirlwind makes its way through the cave, that infamous neon whirlwind.
Uh-huh.
And all of the zombies in the cave also start to like kind of collapse and die as this whirlwind like
Uh-huh.
pokes all of them or flies around all of them. And the gang's like, oh my God, what's happening? Bodies literally, let the bodies hit the
Hit
floor.
the floor.
Like they're literally everywhere, just dead bodies like
Ooh.
plopping around them.
Tiptoeing around them.
Yeah, like, "Ew, don't step on that one." And Velma just explains that the ghosts can finally rest in peace now that their spirits have been avenged. And in the end,
Wow. They were just in
after all of this,
purgatory.
literally, yeah, which we say all the time on this show, if you don't treat a dead person nicely after they die, or if they,
It's not
they
gonna go
die before they're
well.
ready to and they don't have closure,
Mm-mm.
yeah, like they need to be avenged.
Yep.
So, in the end, after all of these ghosts finally fall back into their graves or just kind of like fall in front of these
Or which
fiend or
kind of
in
was
front
what
of
their grave
Mystery
was to
Inc.
begin with.
It is, it's all underground anyway.
Yeah.
You don't love to see it, but the last ghost to thank them and to kind of like wish them well before fading away is a Confederate
Fire
soldier ghost. I
shoulder.
think
It should have been the
it's
pirate.
that it should have been
Should have been
Moonscar, but it was
Moonscar.
that Pettigrew dude. Yeah,
Um,
don't totally love that, but hey, like we said, maybe he's learned some
he's
things in
had
the
time.
afterlife. He's had
He's had
200
time.
years to think
Yeah.
about it, and yeah, final, better late than never. I guess. I
A
guess
whole war,
anyways.
but
So
like,
yeah.
okay, progress.
Yeah. So anyway, the group stands there now in disbelief, wondering how the hell they're going to explain this to anyone, both without the footage and just with like
Bodies in
how
everywhere.
generally ridiculous, yeah, of a story this is, and with like bodies being
Yes.
everywhere and being like, listen, I know this sounds crazy. Cat
But
God
hear us out.
zombies, okay? Like, I don't know what to say.
What else to tell
But
you?
thankfully, Bo speaks up at this point and says, don't be too sure about no one believing you, like about the police not believing you. I'm Detective Bo Neville. I should have told you to hold on to something. My bad. I forgot.
Detective Neville.
Detective Bo
Wow, I
fucking
was up
Neville.
top talking shit, being like, this police force is in over their heads, this island
I
police force.
know.
They don't know what they're
That's
doing.
why I was just like,
Damn, he came in
yeah,
from the
right?
FBI.
From the
He's a
fucking
Fed for
FBI.
sure.
He flashes his badge and everything. He's like, oh, yeah, I've been working undercover on this case for a long time, investigating the island disappearances.
Wow. Also,
And
the four of you
they
are under
all,
arrest. You are not supposed to be doing all
for
this.
many reasons, exactly. Interrupting an officer's investigation,
Wow.
vandalism,
Oh my
assault,
God. Yes.
so many
Wow.
things. And literally the
Wow.
whole gang, like they're like you, like eyes wide, starry-eyed, like a real life detective. Fuck yes. They're like, God, we should have known. This always happens. It always happens with Mystery Inc. There's always an undercover
Wow.
detective who they suspect of being, the
Yes. Yeah.
villain. So
Wow.
Vilma at this point is like, oh my God, that's why you were digging around everywhere.
Yes. You're
Not
trying to
because
find those
you're a gardener
bodies.
who also digs, but because, yeah.
You had a
And
search
he says
warrant.
that because legally you're authorized to. Or actually, no, he didn't have he didn't have a warrant
Oh
probably,
yeah,
which
he's
is why he's
undercover.
like, damn, I gotta be undercover, act like I'm a gardener. He's like
Uh-oh.
Googling gardening as he's working there. Like, what does a gardener do?
What do gardeners
Um,
do?
but yeah, he responds to Velma like, yes, ma'am, just trying to dig up evidence, like literally, aka he's
Ugh.
trying to dig up dead bodies, which
Oh my
extremely
God.
traumatic. Um,
Wow.
and Bo, at this point, he's like, I don't know how I'm gonna convince my bosses about what went down here tonight with any proof. But man, oh man, it is quite a story. He
So
tells
I need that
them, he's
body
like, I
cam
guess,
footage.
yeah, I know. It's like, I'm really gonna need that footage. So at this point, Daphne though, she leans in and she's like, "Well, your bosses might not believe it, but you ever been on TV before?"
Oh hell
And
yeah, I
he
knew
just
she was gonna
kind of
get the scoop.
smiles. Exactly. And so
Hell
they just kind of
yeah.
smile at each other. And then that's the end of the scene.
Wow.
Bright and early the next morning. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to like reflect on that anymore before we get to the
I'm
very
just,
last
we're just gonna wait to the end. I'm just
lines?
so overwhelmed.
Okay, there's so much. So bright and early the next morning, the gang, they're loading up onto the ferry, getting the van on and everything. Not sure whose ferry it is, but it sure ain't Jacques, that's for
I mean,
sure.
the boat's around somewhere.
Yeah, someone, yeah, maybe Fred is just going to drive it, honestly. Like, or
Probably
Daphne, she
good.
probably knows how to drive a riverboat. Yeah. And so they're saying their goodbyes to the island and to Bo. And hilariously, Fred and Daphne are obviously having a super romantic island, like taking in the beauty of the bayou and everything. Like,
Uh-huh.
isn't it so romantic, Freddie? And also Velma and Bo are also kind of nerding out together and like
Belma was
kind of
like,
chatting,
"Oh, you know
talking.
how to solve crimes?
Detective, you say. Yeah.
Detective."
And like Bo is like being super poetic about how beautiful the bayou is and all of that. And Velma's like, wow, it's like poetry.
Oh my
And
God.
Bo's like, well, I'm not a poet, but I have always wanted to write detective novels.
Oh shit.
And Velma's like, I love a good detective novel.
Novel? Oh, she's
I own my
thirsty.
own bookshop. So like Velma is totes flirting, and honestly, Bo is serving back. Okay, so
Hell
like
yeah. We
this is a
love
nice little
this.
game of tennis they got going here. And so the gang eventually they take off on the ferry, and of course, all of this interrupts Snakebites fishing one last time before
Classic.
they head back to the mainland. And he gets pissed at them, whatever. And they're
Yep.
also probably low key like, sorry for suspecting you too. But like, he is creepy. You could
Sorry.
ease off a little bit. You're not
Yeah, you
helping.
could stop threatening people.
But also on the bright side, they're probably not going to have any more visitors on that island interrupting him
He
now
will get
that
his wish.
Lena isn't. Yeah. So you're welcome too,
Yeah, we did solve your
but
problem here.
yeah.
He's actually the one who
And
called in the
the
like
detective,
the
yeah,
police force and he like
but
helped
not
him
be,
get undercover just so he kept
yeah,
peace and quiet.
exactly. He's like, I know they're going missing, but they still annoy me when they're here. So you got to
Exactly.
do something
Just
about these
shut it
people.
down.
Yeah. And so while the ferry sails its way down the river back towards New Orleans, Scooby attempts to eat a nice little snack on the boat.
Mhm.
But he's interrupted when a herd of cats surround him.
Oh yeah, what's gonna happen to all these cats?
And oddly enough, yeah, which also you're right. Like, yeah, they're mostly feral, but like they're
Oh yeah, I
like
guess that's true.
semi-domesticated. Like a lot of them were still in the house though.
It'll just
So
become like how there's like Pig Island
A
that's like
cat
infested with
island.
pigs. It's Cat Island.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Cat Island
Which will
with
bring a
his
lot more
massive decrepit
tourists,
mansion.
actually.
Maybe Bo will just take it. I don't know. Yeah, you're
Oh,
right, it would. But at first it's cute, all the cats and everything. But then as they herd around him closer and kind of surround Scooby, their eyes all start to glow and they start rocking their heads back
what the
in
fuck?
unison. And that's the end.
They gotta drown the cats.
Honestly, everyone jump
They're
off
getting in
this
Snake
boat
Bite's
and
boat.
bomb the riverboat.
Yeah. They're getting in
Blow
Snake
the
Bite's
shit up.
boat, blowing that shit up, and
Yes.
leaving and cutting off all ties now to the
All
island
ties.
to
Yeah,
let the
no one is
cats.
allowed. Like, put freaking wire like
Yeah,
shit
no one's
underneath
getting
the
internet
water
anymore.
so no one can build
They're
a
like,
wall
Snake
around that
Bite,
island because
we're deputizing you. You can now kill people if they get in
yes,
your
you're
ways
welcome
because they're
to.
going to release cats
Exactly.
from this island and we can't have that.
Like, does Mojo like wild cats? Does he eat those? Because if
Here's a
not,
permit.
teach him to. Yeah,
Yeah,
teach
you
him
can have
to.
them.
Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, I know there's a little bit
I'm
more here that I've got just on
flabbergasted.
like the reception of this
Yeah,
movie
let me
after
hear
it
it. I
came
got to come
out and like
down. Give me some.
post-production. Yeah, just to like
Let's hear
close
it.
it all up, tie a
Let's
nice
hear
little
it.
bow on it. So I don't know about you, but a lot of people online and myself
Uh-huh.
argue that to this day, Zombie Island is just like hands down the best Scooby-Doo thing ever made. Like
I could see
better
that.
even than the live action movies, better than even the original cartoons.
I could see
And I
that.
tend to agree with them again, other than like, I think it's tied with The Witch's Ghost. The only reason I think it's
Yeah.
better than The Witch's Ghost is because it came first. But as
Yeah.
far as like the horror of it all and the creepiness of it all and the writing and stuff, like,
Yeah. It sounds a
I
little more
don't think you
horror
can
than
get
Witch's
any better.
Ghost. There wasn't a lot of icky stuff in Witch's Ghost, just like kind
Yeah,
of
that's
scary,
true. It
but
was,
not
yeah,
like body scary. It was just like
yeah. There weren't a bunch of
violent.
dead bodies like falling
Yeah.
from, yeah, places and the witch's ghost. That is true.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and but I like how they kept the theme of like, no, we're gonna like show you real monsters actually, and
Yes.
it's not just gonna be
Real
someone
supernatural
behind a
shit.
mask. Yeah.
Yep.
And so to this day, though, like on Rotten Tomatoes, if you go and look this movie up right now, it still has like an 88% approval rating, which is like
Hell
pretty freaking
yes.
high. Yeah,
That's pretty
especially for an
rare. Yeah.
animated movie. Yeah. And I always get all of these. My algorithm is always putting listicles and stuff on my freaking
Uh-huh.
news feed and everything. And every time I read them, like this movie is always like at the top of
Always
the list
pops
for
up.
being one of the best like animated movies or the best like
Hell
horror
yeah.
animated things or the best Scooby-Doo related, like all these
Yeah.
different listicles. So it
Oh
was
my
like
God.
pretty universally praised by critics
Hell yeah.
across the board. Like critics from outlets as serious as like the New York Times
Oh
to
my
like
God. It was probably so
collider.com and like
shocking
comic
that it
book.
was like
Yeah. They're like,
they had
holy shit,
never
like
done this
this is
before.
amazing. Yeah. And so, of course, this film being super successful led to the continuation of the
Yes.
collaboration with Animation Studios, which was that Japanese studio that
Hmm.
did the animation in The Witch's Ghost as well. And they also did
Yeah.
Alien Invasion and The Cyber Chase. And all four of those movies, I mean, obviously, we know how I feel about this one, but like I can sum it up as a bop, and yet another bop. Like
Yeah,
four for four. All of
exactly.
them are great. I remember loving the other two when I was younger
Yeah.
too. But
Wow.
eventually capitalism and big business took its toll, and eventually TBS became Warner, i.e., like Warner Brothers, and
Yeah.
Hanna-Barbera would later be absorbed into Warner Brothers Animation.
Yeah.
Actually, just a few months before Cyber Chase came out, I think, the last of
Oh.
those four movies.
Uh-huh.
And while there have been some pretty good ones since Warner Bros. Like took full control over it,
Not the same.
none of the Scooby-Doo movies have slapped quite as hard as those
Yeah.
original four, and
Yeah.
especially the two of the four that we've already covered. Like
Yeah.
the other two are good, but I think
These two were
Cyber
like
Chase
world
and
rocking.
yeah, these two were like insanely good. And so
Yeah.
there was a sequel of Zombie Island that came out, I think, in
Oh,
2019. I feel like I watched it just because I was like, I gotta
you
see.
have to.
I knew it would be nowhere near as good as the
Yeah.
original, but I was like, let me see. I don't even really remember it, so I won't comment on it too much.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll rewatch it one
But it's
day,
not
but
memorable, clearly.
it's exactly, and it's just, it's not the same. It's a totally
Yeah.
different production team, it wasn't well received like by critics or anything or by
Yeah.
fans. And like, sure, it's better than a lot of the other movies that have come out in like the last 10, 20 years of Scooby-Doo movies, but
Yeah. You
it's
can
just
never,
nothing compared.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can never hit
It's
that
the
same note in the
quality.
same way.
Mm-mm, yeah. And
Yeah.
even, I mean, it's not just because the first one was so good, but because they just don't even have the same writing style anymore. Like they're
Yeah.
not, the whole tone of Scooby-Doo is way different now than it was back
Yes.
then. Besides,
Yeah.
they've tried to bring back the creepy stuff more, which I like when they do
Yeah.
that, but then they always go right back to like, oh, a cute, campy kind of,
Well, and it also
goofy
like
comedy.
these
Mhm.
were shocking. Like this was the first time the
Yeah.
Scooby-Doo formula had been changed ever. And so
Yeah.
now if they're just, still being like, "Oh, it's supernatural," we're like, "But we know that's an option now." Like, but we
Yes, that's true.
know we've seen four
Yeah.
movies where that could be possible. And like, yeah, it's still
Yeah.
cool to see, but like the
There's only
shock
so much
of
you can do.
it, yeah, is
Yeah.
gone
Yeah.
type of thing.
But I mean, you can still write a good twist though. So you're right on the one
Yes.
hand where it's like, yeah, we'll never be as surprised as we were watching like
Yes.
this and The
Yeah, I think that's
Witch's
why it just
Ghost
doesn't
because
hit
that
the same.
exactly. But like, they could still write better.
Yeah,
You
yeah, you could
know?
still
Like
have a
the
better
writing's still
twist.
not great though. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But still love Scooby-Doo with all my
Wow, I'm
heart. Will never,
so, yeah,
and
we'll never get over it.
so happy that this is now on Max. So, everyone, you've
Hell
got a
yeah, I'm
little
so
less than
excited to
a
go
week
watch
until
this.
Halloween, until we celebrate the official 26th anniversary of this fantastic
Yes,
movie that totally
yes,
changed the game for
yes.
Scooby Doo and brought it back
And
into the
us.
main screen and us. Yeah.
Yep.
So, go and absorb it into your face holes and enjoy this
Yes.
terribly haunting thing. And
Yes.
yeah, it's perfect for the
Wow.
holidays. Yeah.
Amazing.
And that's
Amazing
that.
work. I'm like still
Thank
speechless
you.
by this, both by your
It's,
recap
yeah,
and by where this went.
a lot of
Again,
places.
my
It
vague
went a
memory
lot
did
of
not hold on
places.
to it. Probably, I was thinking about during it. I was like, probably in part because one, terrifying imagery doesn't sit well with adult or little Grace. And two,
No.
I was like, I can imagine watching this when I was little and being like, I knew cats were evil since I am such a dog person. Like I probably just like
Yes.
little me felt, or maybe that's when I decided when I chose my
That you
side.
hated cats.
I
Yeah.
still love cats. I still like cats, but I am a
Hmm.
dog person. You guys see my dogs.
Yeah.
They were just here two
Exactly.
minutes ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
It's
feel
cool
like
to have
little
a
me was
preference.
like, I don't need to have another cat movie
No, I'm
or
over
something like
these
that.
evil creatures.
Yep.
Yeah.
So wow,
Sounds
just
right.
incredible
Sounds
work.
right. Thank you.
I think this is
Yeah.
one of my favorite
So
things you've done. Great job.
thank you. Wow, that's saying a lot.
Graduating law
Great. I
school, passing the bar.
Nah,
Oh
nah.
shit.
Doing an oral history of Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Zombie Island.
Honestly, I don't disagree. I've never been so excited. I'm surprised I was able to pull all this together in like 4 or 5
It was
days
a
too.
short amount of time, the
It
turnaround on
was.
your
I think
change of
we're
mind.
recording this on Sunday, and I think I texted Grace on what, Wednesday,
Wednesday.
maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yep.
just kidding. I'm changing everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I assume she's already done it.
So
Nope. Hadn't
no,
started
I started it that night.
after
Yeah.
you were texting
I was watching the movie as I was texting you just to
me.
like assure or like
Yeah, like,
affirm that
yes, I
yes,
wanted
I
to
was
do
going to do it.
this.
And once I got like 10 minutes into it, I was like, I'm texting Grace. I'm
Texting, letting
changing
her know.
everything.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm glad I did too.
Incredible.
It's a Halloween staple. It's a Scooby-Doo staple.
Yes.
So it's perfect for this arc. And I
I'm
think it's
so
a
excited to
perfect way
watch
to
it.
sign off this
Yeah,
season, spooky season,
it
and to
is.
get you guys all ready for Halloween. Get out there and
Yes.
be like those zombies on Zombie Island. Scary, but
But
helpful.
helpful.
Scary, but helpful. Yeah,
The
we'll be a better
perfect
place because of it.
combination.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
thank you. So
Incredible.
we're going to start Thanksgiving next week, and
Yeah.
I can't wait. It's our official
Yes.
favorite holiday. As much as we love Halloween,
Yes.
Thanksgiving is
We
definitely our
love
favorite
Thanksgiving.
holiday, even though it's
Yep.
hard to come up with episodes
It's a
sometimes for Thanksgiving, but
loosey-goosey month next
we're gonna
month
make it
for
work
us.
like we
Yeah, get
always
ready.
do. So yeah,
Exactly.
until then, Grace, who
Wow.
should the folks tell about this podcast?
I think you should tell if you're going to any type of Halloween event in celebration of
Uh-huh.
Halloween, tell the best dressed person there. about this show.
Oh,
The best
nice.
Halloween costume, the best fit, whoever it is, let them know because clearly they appreciate Halloween. So the best dressed at your
Nice.
Halloween events. And then who else should they
Excellent.
tell?
And then you should tell the host of whatever Halloween party
Nice.
you're going to. Yeah, if you're
Nice.
going to one. And, thank them for putting together a nice party,
Yeah.
whether they have the best costume on or not. Like Grace said, I don't know,
Leave them
maybe
wondering.
leave them wondering, but tell them about this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
cool. And we'll be back next week for some Thanksgiving sods.
Yeah. All right. Till then.
Till then,
Bye.
bye. Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at SatmornMist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.